What's
Our
up,
third
guys?
co-chair, Dot Ridings, is in Louisville, Kentucky tonight. Her leadership in debates
I should
goes
actually
back
pull it
to
up. I don't even have it up.
1976 and includes the presidency
See an
of the League of
individual?
Women Voters.
Gotcha.
The CPD is the beneficiary of 33 years' worth of people who have been willing to put their name on our work. To all of those former presidents and chancellors of
Are you sure
debate
we're able to
sites,
stream it?
to former moderators, to members of our Debates International network who have set their clocks to 3 a.m. tomorrow morning to tune in live, we thank you with all our hearts. In 1987, Paul Kirk and Frank Fahrenkopf co-founded
How are you guys doing on
the
this fine
CPD.
evening
I'd like
here
to
left in the
introduce the
Southland? We are
co-chair,
excited.
Frank
We're ready to
Fahrenkopf,
go.
and
You know,
his colleague
this
are
is the
also
first
our
debate. We
co-chair,
got
Ken Wallach,
Dementia
to start
Joe.
this part of the
We
program.
got Sleepy Joe and fucking Cheeto Man.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
You should turn
Welcome
it down
to
a little
the
bit,
Health Education Campus,
slightly.
Case Western
Especially during
Reserve, and the
pre-show.
Cleveland Clinic. And if you have not had the opportunity yet to go around and see this fantastic facility, you really should. It's just a great tribute to everyone who's been involved with it, and it's so important to our nation. To say, as Janet,
Yeah, is that on your end?
that this has been the most challenging time for this commission in its 33 years
Oh,
of
that's
existence
OBS
due to
freezing?
the coronavirus
Shit.
problems. So many people, as Janet said, are responsible. We normally don't come out when
Maybe try
the co-chairman and I
YouTube
come out
stream.
and thank people, but we wouldn't be here today. Of 65 people, most of which have been with us for years. Some of them go back
you
to the
link me?
first
I can't
debates
really, like,
in
find a good one.
1988.
It's so
And
shitty.
thanks
How they like,
so much
I don't know.
to United
all set up
Airlines,
shitty.
who stepped up
Yeah,
to
if
the
you don't
plate
mind.
and graciously provided to fly our whole crew from one site to another throughout the rest of the term of these debates. So we have a great shout out for United Airlines. Anheuser-Busch has been with us for 28 years, as has the firm of Crowell and Mooring in Washington, D.C.
Did they see the Eagles
Also,
meme?
special thanks to some people in the network business, in the journalism business,
Okay, there we go.
Pentagram, CBS News
Now I'm
Radio,
watching along.
Intercom
All right.
Communications.
Yep, I will pull up
In the
chat.
hotel behind us,
To everyone watching right
Intercontinental,
now,
there's a
I'm
tremendously
going
large
to
room,
post the
which is
link
called the Media
in
Filing
chat.
Center. There's
Hopefully this
only,
doesn't
I
get
guess, there's
removed.
about 700
Okay, we're
people
good.
in there today.
Click this
We
link
usually have 3,000 to 5,000
to watch
people
what we're watching
in the
right
Media
now.
Filing
So you
Center.
guys can join us.
And so with
Or you can just watch the
the
stream.
cut down that
Either
we've
way.
had to, and you can look around this audience. We normally have 900 people in the audience.
But also,
You
I wanna
people are
say,
very fortunate
During the pre-show,
to have
since
the
this is all
opportunity
bullshit,
to be here tonight.
we are
But
going.
the
I
National
am
Press
going
Club
to be
in Washington,
playing
D.C.
a little
tonight
game here,
is
so that
hosting
I can
a
enjoy
Media Filing
myself while
Center
we watch
for
this
those
stream, because
journalists
it's
in
probably
Washington
going to be
who
a
couldn't be
shit
here
show.
tonight. And so we're
So I've
very,
got
very
my
thankful
war criminal
for that.
mug here with all the U.S.
Many of you, I
presidents
see
on
faces here I've known and been in the
And I've
audience
got
before.
some rosé
There will be in the
in this cup
estimate
here.
of most experts
I've also got
close
46
to
ounces of
120
Miller High
million
Life
people
in the fridge,
watching
which
this
is
debate
approximately the
this
size
evening.
of a small child.
It'll be on their TV sets.
So
It'll be on their
periodically
computers,
throughout, I'm going to
It'll
be
be on their
searching for
iPads,
certain key
it'll be on their
phrases.
iPhones. It'll listening on
And
the
let me
radio.
pull this up on Twitter real quick.
And those 120
So I can
million,
show
or
you
however
guys.
it works out to be, deserve to be able to listen and observe on this stage tonight. These two
Hell yeah.
men put forth the reasons why they should be elected president of the United States. And that's why it's been
So we've
our
got
history in the general
certain key
election
phrases that we're looking
that we
for
urge
here.
our
For
audiences
example,
not to clap,
if
not to
Biden
yell,
ever says,
to sit silent,
"Come on, man,"
and not interfere with these
that's a
people
drink right there.
who are
Also, I
trying
want to say,
just ascertain.
let's see, we need
who
to
they're
come
going
up
to
with
vote
some for finishing the drink.
Now,
I will
exactly
drink
at
this
9
entire
o'clock,
drink if
You're going to hear a lot of noise
What?
behind you. If you turn around now, you can take a quick look.
Trump.
There's three
I
on
want to
this
say if
side,
Trump brings up
three on this side.
Antifa,
These are
but
the major nets.
that's
At 9 sharp, you're
I
going to
don't
hear
wanna
them
drink
all
that
go
much,
on
so.
air. And so it makes a little noise, so don't be afraid by it.
I know
And
for
I
a fact
must,
Biden's
at
going to
the
bring up
end,
the
really
$750 tax thing. That's going to be
people that you
exciting to
saw
see.
on your way
You
here
know,
tonight,
David, the
and
Biden
you see
campaign
around
just
here.
released
The United
Kamala
States
and
Secret
Biden's
Service,
tax returns
the Federal Bureau of
earlier today,
Investigation,
just a few
Department
hours
of
before the
Homeland
debate
Security,
started.
and Clemson's
Yeah, because they're
University
obviously
Media
going to hammer
Forensic
him
Hub
hard on the
that is working
tax
with us and
shit that he got
monitoring
caught for.
the web
So that'll be fun
and
to see
social
them
media.
stumble over that.
So there's so many people to thank, and these men and women and the police department that you saw outside, the local police department, who work so hard to keep us all safe and to keep our nation safe. So thanks. Now I'd like to introduce the
real.
newest member of the leadership team, Ken Wallach, who for 25 years ran the National Democratic Institute of International Affairs, NDI, and we're really excited to have him join us as a co-chair.
I'm assuming this debate's not going to have a crowd. Is that right?
I join Frank, Janet, and fellow
Oh,
board
really?
members, including Yvonne Howe and Jane Harmon, who are with us tonight, in welcoming you to the 23rd presidential debate sponsored and organized by the Commission on Presidential Debates. As Frank said, I am the Commission's newest co-chair, and as the new kid on the block, I am proud to work alongside those who have been engaged in this initiative for the past 33
What do you think?
years. These debates have now become an integral part of our political
Yeah, see, like,
process.
I love how they say
The
that it's
view
become an
shared
integral
by
part
the
of our
most
political
important
process.
judge,
Like, debates aren't just
the American electorate.
total bullshit, you know?
But as significant as
So
debates have become
important.
here, they can
Yeah,
be
it's just
even more
entertainment value.
consequential
I got some
overseas, where the Commission,
stormy
in
night.
partnership with the National Democratic
de
Institute, has
toilet.
helped organize more than
de toilet.
400
Stormy night
debates
here.
in
I'm
45
gonna be smelling very
nations.
professional here.
In post-conflict countries and
During
in
this
new
debate.
and emerging democracies, debates have helped level the playing field in places where only one party has ruled.
Yeah, I don't want you
They
guys
have
to
forced
smell me.
discussion on policy
I
issues,
think my mic's on now.
not personalities. And
What? I
yes,
could hear you
they
on
have
stream.
promoted comity
Could you?
among political competitors. And
Yeah,
that's comity
you're
with
quiet.
a
I mean,
T.
now I put my mic on.
And this effort has spawned the establishment of a global
Okay, well, I
support
can hear you.
network
So hopefully
of
hopefully
similar
it's
debate
fixed.
organizations from nearly 40 countries,
But yeah, anyway,
dubbed Debates
David
International.
was just pretty much saying
Now I will
something
call your
like I
attention
was saying.
to the
You know?
Commission-sponsored
He's excited for this debate.
Debate Watch
We're
2020.
hella excited.
and
We got
participation
wine here.
by
David's
watch
drinking
groups
Diet
in
Coke.
all 50 states.
Yeah.
From a
we're
hair
good.
salon owner
Who
in
even is this
Cleveland
old
Heights
fucking guy?
hosting 10 employees,
Kenneth Wallach,
to
bro.
the Atlantic Council hosting a
Wallach.
global audience
The
for
Commission
more
on
than
Presidential
80,000.
Debates.
The goal of the Debate Watch is not to
Co-chair.
say who won or who lost, but to share views
It absolutely
with those
is
who
about
agree,
who won.
Exactly.
What else is
the
Whoever
point
wins
of a
this
fucking
debate wins the
to
presidency.
listen respectfully
yeah.
to each other's opinions. We are
We're here to
pleased
just
that the
duke
Commission's
out our ideas. This
longest
is the
standing
marketplace of
supporters,
ideas.
Judy and Peter Kovler, are in the audience tonight.
Judy and
Am I
Peter,
supposed to know
stand
who
up,
that is?
please. Stand up.
Am I supposed to know who the fuck that is?
For 32 years, the Judy and Peter Blum
Where are you?
Kovler
I don't see you in
Foundation
the crowd.
has given its trust to the
She's just standing right in front of you. He's just
nonpartisan
blatantly overlooking her.
of the
Like,
Commission.
I don't think
We
she
are
could make it
deeply
tonight. And
grateful
she's just like,
for their
I'm
belief in
here.
our work and their
It's not
extraordinary
working, man.
contribution to
Maybe
the
someday you'll be
2020
noticed.
We even got
debates.
the chat pulled up on screen so you
It
will
is
see
now my
yourself.
distinct honor
I was
to
here.
introduce Dr. Tom
I was here during the
Mihaljevic,
legendary debate.
President of the Cleveland Clinic, and Barbara Snyder, President of Case Western Reserve University. Thank you very much.
I don't think the chat's working.
Might not show up YouTube.
Good evening.
Oh,
On
maybe
behalf
only
of
Twitch.
Cleveland
I
Clinic,
don't know how
it is
to,
my
like,
pleasure to
both
welcome
of them
you
on
to the
stream.
city of Cleveland. Tonight,
Okay.
you join us in the beautiful Sampson Pavilion of the Health Education
I
Campus
could
at
probably get both of
Cleveland
them on
Clinic.
stream.
We share this campus with our partners from Case Western Reserve University.
You know what? I'm still not vibing.
This
I've also
building
got
is
my
very
basil
special
here.
to us.
Forgot to
It was
mention as well.
opened
Look how much of this
just a
candle I've
year
used
ago
since the
as a
Travis
place
Scott
for
ASMR
students,
video. It
medical,
was totally full.
nursing, and
Now it's
dental
almost empty.
to begin their professional
But
journeys
that's not enough.
by learning together
I think
as
I'm going to
teams.
light some incense
At
as
that
well.
time, as we
David,
were
we have
opening
options here.
this campus,
While this
none
Tom
of us could have
Mihaljevic guy is
imagined
talking, fuck
that
that
we
guy.
would soon face a
So we got.
worldwide
Oh shit,
pandemic.
this is upside down. Fuck.
When it happened,
I need to not spill
we
this everywhere.
converted this building
Okay, so
into
we
a
got
COVID-19 surge
lavender,
hospital.
strawberry,
The space in which you are
and
sitting
something
right
called
now
Lotus.
had 1,000
Go ahead and
Which
let
one
us
should I
put
go
Lotus,
with?
bro.
That's
We
what I was
called it
thinking, bro.
the
You're
Hope
reading my
Hospital.
mind right now, man. I'm glad to hear.
Thankfully,
it.
the surge did not
That's
come
that.
in
That's that
Ohio.
sage, that nice
Yet tonight,
mystical
this
aromas
building
delivered
serves
by an
another
exclusive
purpose.
collection of highly
in support
fragranced
of our
incense sticks.
democracy, and it is a historic
I mean, tonight
occasion
will be
for
a
us
legendary moment.
and for our city.
Yeah, truly.
We are proud to
Going to use my
support the
propane
Commission on
torch here.
Presidential Debates as
It's actually
their health
butane.
security
Propane is
advisor.
not safe to use.
Wow.
We at Cleveland Clinic and our 70,000 caregivers have been serving the health needs in Cleveland since 1921, nearly 100 years.
Nearly
Yet,
100 years.
Our organization and our caregivers have never shone brighter than during this pandemic. The pandemic has brought out the best of our organization and our caregivers of our city and our state. Through partnership and collaboration, we see how much we
See how
can
fucking
accomplish
bright
when
this
we
thing
work
is?
together.
Say I won't eat
And we are
this.
particularly proud of our partnership
I
with
think
Case
the Twitch
Western
and
Reserve
YouTube chat
University.
should work now.
With that, I would
Maybe.
like to
Roger
introduce
that.
my
Test.
colleague and
Go ahead and
friend,
test it.
I
President
was
of
here.
Case Western Reserve University, Barbara Snyder.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep, I see it.
Case Western Reserve is honored to co-host this presidential debate with our partners at Cleveland Clinic and delighted to show you this spectacular space we
There we
created
go. I see
together.
it. Yep, it's working.
Research
Pog.
has long
Twitch
shown that
We're
team-based
professional streamers
healthcare
now.
leads to
Oh,
better
yeah.
outcomes for patients. Yet nearly every academic
alerts
institution
on
continues to prepare
Twitch.
students in separate buildings.
If you're watching on YouTube
Literally
right now,
in
like the
silos.
stream. It helps with discoverability.
Yet after spending
about
years
to fucking,
learning only
watch
with
this shit in
students
8
from the same
minutes.
profession, doctors
Yep.
with doctors,
Exciting,
nurses
guys.
with nurses, and
It's,
so on, they are
A little
suddenly
bit of a downtime
expected to
before the
know how to
stream. Make
work
sure to
in
get your
teams
get
once
your
they get
wine
their
here, like I was
diplomas.
just saying.
We knew there
Yeah,
had to be a
follow
better
us on
way,
Twitter.
and together
Like I was saying, I
we
got my
built
war
it.
criminal mug here
When
with all
not
the
filled
U.S.
with a
presidents
stage and
on it.
seats, this
Perfectly
atrium
fitting. It's
gives
filled with
hundreds
alcohol.
of students a
double
huge
filling.
open space to study,
Got a lot
talk,
of a
and
variety
simply
of
be together.
substances here for me to
The
abuse
entire
throughout
building
the,
provides
the length of
multiple
the debate.
spaces for them to come together,
that
supported
gets
by
me
an
through
academic
mentally.
model that emphasizes opportunities to learn with and from one another.
Get some motherfucking
Add
pop-out
state-of-the-art
chat action.
technology,
Yes.
and we know our graduates will be uniquely
go.
prepared to excel in team-based care and ultimately to lead it. Along the way, Cleveland Clinic and Case Western Reserve also learned from one another.
I'm confused, like
Among
why
the
this
most
is going
valuable
on.
lessons
What is it?
was
What
that
is
through
the debate sponsored by
collaboration,
Case
we
Western or
achieved
something?
far more than either of us
I don't
could
know.
achieve alone.
Like who is this
Thank
person?
you,
Why is she
Tom,
speaking?
for being
I don't
such a
give
wonderful
fuck.
colleague and friend.
It's always like
Thank you
this.
to the Commission for giving both of our organizations the opportunity to be part of this historic event. It is a true privilege to contribute to our nation's democratic process. And thank you all for watching.
Thanks, Barb. Now fuck off. Let's get Sleepy Joe out here. Dude, they're actually gonna make them
Thank
stand
you,
the whole time.
Tom
Oh my
and
God, it's
Barbara,
Ivanka.
very much.
a
Most
huge
valuable
fan.
player award
I'm
for this
not
evening
sharing my
goes to
browser
Toby
because
Cosgrove. We couldn't
Fucking
have
on
done it
Twitter,
without
we're following
you.
a lot of
Thank you.
fucking people who
One
are
housekeeping
sex
bit
workers.
for the audience.
Really?
As soon as
Oh, yeah,
this
don't
debate is
show.
over,
Don't
if you would
show.
please remain
Yeah.
seated, you will be shown
Nah, I
which
just
way
got
to
face
My
full.
timeline is a no-fly zone on
Yeah.
Twitch.
please
bro.
stay where you are until that happens. I would like to now introduce Chris Wallace, the
Yo,
moderator of this
Zion,
evening's
what's
debate.
up, man?
in the YouTube chat.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from you, man. You're about to see Sleepy Joe and the Cheeto Man in chief himself leak their brain. Oh, look, it's Chris. His mic's not working.
Chris, your mic's not on, Chris.
Chris, can you hear me, Chris? Your mic's not working, man.
Wait, is he even wearing a mic? Oh, he is.
He is. I mean, it's just off.
Is it my audio?
No, it's broken. Oopsie.
Who's gonna tell him?
Multi-million dollar company, by the way. Are they just not gonna fix it? Is it just like we're done with audio for the rest of the stream?
Chris, you're gonna have to repeat all this, bro.
Shout out to the sound engineer. So true.
Chris, watch out! That fucking car.
Chris, get down. How do they not know yet? Holy shit, it's been like 45 uninterrupted
because
seconds of no audio.
Maybe like C-SPAN like doesn't have access to the like the audio.
Oh, you actually might be right. Wait, I think you're actually right. I think
Wait,
Chris
really?
Wallace is talking. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he's mic'd up for like Fox or CNN or something. We gotta find. Or I think if we stream that, we might get in trouble though. This guy gonna get fired.
Go ahead and just translate for us, Caleb.
Okay. Here, I'll pull it up. CNN stream. Hopefully they at least have the fucking actual debate.
Yeah, surely like they have the we'll be able to hear the debate, right?
Wait, why is CNN so difficult like to navigate? Their website is just so shit. I can barely use it. I can't find the actual stream.
Damn, is that the Ivanka?
Here we go, live debate. Okay.
You're assuming a lot from fascists and neoliberals.
You're assuming a lot from fascists and neoliberals. Yeah. Fuck, man. Okay, here we go. I can hear it now. Wait, I can't. So I'm watching the CNN stream.
And there's no audio?
But they're not, like, Chris Wallace is not talking. So
oh wait,
just
I
clapping
can hear
now.
the clapping now.
Yeah.
Wait, was that like a real
So-
clap?
so you're not
That's
missing
crisp
anything.
Audio claps.
I guess the audio really was broken
The
because
fa-
the CNN
tell-
stream.
Tell me why the fucking the crowd is mic'd up but not this guy.
Right, yeah. The CNN
This
stream
is
was also
awkward.
not having him speak, so I'm guessing it was broken. Not just for us.
Dude, that's who is this?
Dude, feels bad for Chris Wallace.
Ivanka? She just put a
Would you be nervous if you were doing this? I
No,
would.
dude.
I'd be fucking nervous.
I'll be ready, man. Donald, is it true that
You may
only
be-
paid
you may be able to, but we can't.
$750
Yeah.
in taxes?
Yeah, don't worry. They weren't saying anything. The hosts were just talking over him because I think his mic was just not functional.
Bro, we should do a fucking bingo. Wasn't there a Discord bingo? Presidential
Yeah.
bingo?
Yeah. I posted in News and Politics if you want to pull it up. Got we start with a free space, so I'm about to print this shit out.
Fuck.
Wait, where is it though? There it is.
Wait, can you message me that? So I don't have to pull up the
Yep,
gen sheet?
I will message it to you on Discord. Give me a moment. Sorry to see the debates with audio. Please sign this contract selling your soul to God Emperor Donald Trump.
Right?
And it'll be approximately $750 because he needs the money right now. The IRS
Yeah,
has
he's,
come knocking.
He's very in debt right now.
Yeah, I've heard that he's
Is it classist to
$1
make fun of
billion
Trump about being $300 million in debt?
Do you think Biden will?
No, do you think it's classist?
No, it's not classist. Are you kidding me? What? If he was not a member of the ruling class, he would not be able to be $300 million in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's giving my ass $300 million in loans. My rent is more than his taxes. Yeah, me too, pretty much. Actually, my rent's like $100 less. Yeah, I paid more in taxes than him. And I've only worked like total in my life, probably a year of real jobs. And I've paid far more in taxes than he did in both those years combined. So let me print this out real quick. My printer's low on ink, so hopefully my bingo sheet turns out okay. Love
have a
those
printer?
closed captions, right?
You have a printer?
Yep. Of course I have a printer. What do I look like to you?
I don't have a printer.
Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna show you guys the deets here.
Oh my god, that was fast.
So we got Biden, Trump, first debate bingo here. So it starts out in the middle. We got Corn Pop's free space. Everyone needs a corn pop in their life, so we're gonna start out with that. And we got the classics like Joe with the malarkey, touching his earpiece. Although, did you see the tweet? Joe said he is not using an earpiece during this debate. However, the jury is out on whether or not he will be snorting Adderall, so we're not sure on that one.
Not sure
Also
yet,
on Twitter, I
yeah.
noticed a lot of people are saying, "How dare you demonize him for snorting and boofing Adderall?" Like, it's so weird that you would make fun of people who use prescription drugs. It's like, it's not that, obviously. Anyway. So if Joe ever sniffs weirdly, kind of like that Slavoj Žižek type sniff, you know what I mean? That'll be a bingo right there. Come on, man. I'm thinking if he says "come on, man," I'm gonna drink my whole drink because that's that's like his catchphrase, you know.
Come on, man.
Good evening.
Oh,
Here we
you
go.
hear
Here's
it.
Chris Wallace. Here's
Education
Chris Wallace.
campus
Should I
of
put
Case
the bingo
Western
up on
Reserve
camera, or-
University.
Here, you guys
in
can see
Cleveland
all this.
Clinic.
Try to commit it to memory.
I'm Chris Wallace
I
of
have the
Fox
I will be-
News, and I
image up
welcome
on
you to
stream.
the first of the
I will be
2020
keeping an eye on
presidential
it
debates
and letting you
between
know.
President
Yeah.
Donald
It's
J.
being first.
Trump and former Vice
I guess we'll all
President
get it
Joe
at the same
Biden.
time, though.
This debate is sponsored by the Commission on
Should I leave the
Presidential
bingo
Debates.
sheet up on screen or
The
not?
Yeah,
Commission
leave
has
it up, leave it up.
designed the format, six
funny.
roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the Commission or the two candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the
Got mine pulled
Cleveland
up on
Clinic,
MS Paint.
which is serving as the health security advisor to the Commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates
goodbye, Douglas.
will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
How you doing, man?
How you doing, man?
Dude, look at them. Oh my God, they're finally here,
Yeah.
boys.
A
It's
lot
been
of
so
people
long
have been
since I've
waiting
seen them.
for this night,
People need to
so
boo
let's get
Trump. I don't
going.
think they
Our
have,
first
like,
subject is the
Regular
Supreme
people.
Court.
Sorry, I'm gonna listen for a second.
President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first.
Oh boy, I'm
2
so
minutes.
excited.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way, good in every way. In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time. Even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's
Yeah,
going
probably
to
just
be
move it.
as good
Maybe
as
put the bingo,
anybody
like,
that has served on that court. We really
somewhere in the
feel
middle?
that.
I don't know.
We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time
I
at a great
want
school.
on MS Paint pulled up.
And we won the
Oh, you just
election,
showed the
and
stream.
therefore we have the right to choose her, and very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they try and do it faster.
Yep.
There's no
He's
way they
right.
would give
He's
it up.
literally right.
They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the
Yep,
election.
he's
so
right.
They were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely
It would.
happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
He's totally right. I
President
want to
Trump,
see how
thank
Biden
you.
responds to this.
Same question
Because,
to you,
like,
Vice
he's
President
totally right. The
Biden. You
Democrats have no
2
power to
minutes.
stop him. So,
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this.
God, he looks so
forward to this, Mr.
decrepit.
President.
Holy shit.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court
They did in
nominee is.
2016.
And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States.
God damn it, bro.
They're not going to get that chance
no
now
good way to
because we're in the
put
middle
two
of an
webcams
election
on here.
already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on
Okay.
that. He ran on that, and he's been governing on
Do
that.
this.
He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person.
Really?
But she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again,
How?
a woman could be pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition.
Okay, but that's
pregnancy.
everyone.
They're
What does that
able
have to do with women?
They're able to charge a woman more for the same
What does that
exact
have to do with the
procedure
Affordable
mandate.
Care Act, Joe?
Yes, and that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable
That's
Care
so
Act.
not true. That's
And
just a
there's 100
fucking
million
lie.
People have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this, and so
I mean,
it's
that's
just not
true, at least.
appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February. All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say.
He's right.
Okay.
He's
Justice
right. I mean,
Ginsburg
he's literally
said
just
very
right.
powerfully,
Like, they
very
voted
strongly,
for him in
at some
2016
point,
knowing that he might
10
replace
years
our
ago
Ruth
or
Bader
so,
Ginsburg. That's
she
part of
said
the election.
The
though.
president and the Senate is
Like,
elected
oopsie,
for
she
a
died
period of
while he was
time,
still
but a
president.
president's
Her
elected
bad,
for
I
4
guess.
years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years.
I feel like we're
The
about to get
100
election's already
million
started.
people, Joe.
The election's already
100
started. Like, that
million
matters.
people
He
is
doesn't take
totally wrong.
office
I don't
until
know where you got
January.
that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care.
Okay, this is a
That's
bad
simply
point by
not
Trump.
true.
Well, you're certainly
No,
going
that-
to
that-
socialist.
go
You're
ahead.
going to
This-
socialist
this is-
medicine.
we're now
Wait, is
into-
that
we're
Trump
now
calls
into
Biden a
open
socialist?
discussion.
Open discussion.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yes,
You're
I
right.
agree.
Let's go.
Oh,
Mark it on your
Number
bingo,
one,
boys.
We got
He
it.
knows that what I propose.
Trump
Where is
calls
that?
What I
Biden a
propose is
socialist.
that
It's under free
There we
we
speech.
go,
expand
baby.
Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23
There
of my
we go,
colleagues
baby.
trying to win the
Well,
nomination.
dude,
that I
we only
won,
need a few
were
more.
saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still.
This is what our bingo
They
sheet
can.
looks like so far.
They do. They will under my proposal.
Not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has said.
that is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your
That
party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist.
Do we get
Right
double
now,
points for that?
I am
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
Put a red
I
flag.
am
Form
the
of
Senate.
Democratic Party
I
is
Trump's
what
like,
I-
not yet.
what I approve of. Now here's the
Not
deal.
until
The deal
January.
is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act?
I need to get some fresh air. I'll be back.
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which
no,
was heavily
Mr. President,
You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
Much
Why did
later.
they say China
Would
was
have
the
been
I'm
president?
talking about 2 million people.
You're not
No, not yet.
Mr. Moderator.
He wants
We are
to,
gonna talk
though.
about
He's
COVID in the
itching.
next segment.
He's itching
but
for that
go
China
ahead.
virus.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's on the
begun.
ballot.
I-
Why is it on the
That's
ball?
okay. Trump's
Because-
lying.
because
But
Is it on the
said
ballot? It's not
you-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot.
But
in
it was on the
court. It's
ballot in
the court.
2016,
Oh,
and the
it still
Democrats
looks like
lost.
he's already about to cry.
Donald, would
And you
just
don't
be
know
quiet for a minute?
her view.
This is what he looks like
on
when he's
Roe
lying.
v. Wade.
I
Like
don't know
he just
you.
he makes
All
this
right,
weird.
let's-
Hold on, let me
all
turn my
right, let's
camera
talk-
back. He makes this weird face like,
We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time, so.
No, you don't know.
why
that
is
that's
it on the
ballot.
ballot, Joe?
And then we'll come
You
back to
don't
Roe
know
v.
that.
Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they
If-
wanna
if
give
I-
good
if I-
health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised
said,
to repeal
"Good
and
health
replace
care, LMAO."
Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you
rid
an
of
opp-
the
I'm gonna-
individual
when I finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got
when
rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That
big
is not a
chunk of
comprehensive
That
plan.
is
Did we also get
absolutely a
Biden's
big thing.
leader
That was the
mandate?
worst
I
part of
didn't ask,
Obamacare.
sir.
No,
You're
not
saying
yet.
anything
Worst
not
part of
me.
That'll probably
Let me
come up
ask
later
my
when they
question.
talk about
I'll ask
the
Joe.
riots
I-
and stuff.
I-
The
no,
individual
I-
mandate was the most unpopular
Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare.
right.
I got rid of it.
I'd like
about
to
that
move
again.
Mr.
Protect people
President,
with
on the
pre-existing
moderator of this
walking
debate,
over the
and I will
moderator
let you
now.
Let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
He's
it.
right too. Like
You,
he's so
in the
right.
course of
That's the
these 4 years,
problem.
have never
Democrats
come
are
up
so
with a
spineless,
comprehensive
man.
plan to replace Obamacare. And just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him. That's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something.
Oh my God.
There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president
Is
has
this
the
bullying the
courage to do
moderator?
because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period. in
He's
government, but
right.
you didn't do it.
Get his
Nobody's
ass.
done it. So we're cutting health care.
What about
All of the
pre-existing
things that
conditions?
we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
health
give
care.
you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like
Listen,
water.
I'm getting
You want
it
to
for
know the
so
truth. So
cheap.
cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny
As I
fraction.
said,
says
this
that
is
like
open
it's a good
discussion.
thing.
Let me
This
ask
is
you
big-
about
this
let me-
is
you'll be
big
happy,
stuff.
Gain
sir.
reliance
You'll
on
be
the
happy. I'm
Canadians
about
and
to
the
Yeah.
pick up on one of
We'll
your
let
points
rich people
to
seek
ask the
care
Vice
in more
President, which is
socialized
he points
countries
out
where they
that
can
you would
afford
like
it.
to add a public option to Obamacare, and
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
It's
and
not.
will-
obviously not, Chris.
I can
sorry.
ask you the question. It will
Not what your
end.
party says, by
That's
the way.
It will
just a
end
lie.
private insurance and
Okay,
create a
when do
government
we
takeover
bully-
of
when do we
health
get
care.
It does
the
not. It's
moderator.
only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid.
Oh, that's already done. Yeah,
They
bullying the
can get
mod.
that
That's over.
free in
He
most
literally said,
states
"I guess
except
I'm
governors
debating
who
you,
wanna
not
deny
him."
people who
That
are
counts
poor
alone.
Medicaid. Anyone who
bullying
qualifies for
moderator.
Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie
Number-
Sanders, who's
I
far
did-
left,
What?
on the manifesto,
Well,
we
you-
call it.
well,
And that gives
manifest-
you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you saying
not
you
gonna
didn't
He was
listen to him. The
famously
fact of the
against
matter
that.
is,
What is
I
Trump
beat
lying
Bernie
about right now?
Sanders.
Dude, Chris
Not by
Wallace
much.
needs to
I'm
go
by
in on
big
Donald. Be
a
like,
whole
bro,
lot. I'm
shut
here,
the
I'm
fuck
here
up.
standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left
Well,
2
yeah,
days
be like,
early.
"Oh, sir, I'm gonna have
lost
to mute
every
your mic."
All he
primary
knows how to
on
do
Super
is hurt.
Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well.
They're so
Okay.
Tonight I'm going to make
What does that
sure
mean, Joe?
because Here's the deal.
I'm gonna be fucking
The fact
20-year-olds
is,
tonight.
everything he's saying
Donald,
so
what are
far
you gonna be
is simply
doing?
a lie. I'm not
I
here
know
to
for a
tell
fact my
lies.
friend
Everybody
Epstein's
knows
still
he's
alive,
lying.
Jack.
I just
agreed.
want to
Hey,
make
wait,
sure.
Joe,
Didn't hear it from me.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class. not first in your class.
I want to make sure.
That's a
President, can you
joke.
let him
What?
finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that.
Tries
He
to
has-
make a joke.
You know,
Surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy, the
Tries
wrong
to
night
make a
at the wrong
joke. There
time.
you
Listen,
go.
you
Dude,
agreed
we are
with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him
bingo.
There
What
is
happens
no
when you get a bingo?
manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
Number
Just lost
two.
the left.
Number two.
He lost the
You
left.
just lost the left.
Dude,
You agreed with
dude,
Bernie
Trump is
Sanders
owning him
on
right
a
now. He's
plan.
actually owning his ass.
Absolutely
Folks,
agreed
do you
to,
have any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you got
this clown's
socialized, they
doing?
call it
Mr.
Medicare
you
for
have
President.
This is
better than I ever
Socialized
could have
medicine.
Listen,
Imagine.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care.
Okay.
Because he, in fact, already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two,
yeah.
there are 20 million people getting health
Wait,
care
you see,
through
let me be
Obamacare
clear.
now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three,
health care at a
but-
much lower price
but-
because
and by the way,
Obamacare
he doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as
single
you might
thing.
know, probably
He's
does.
never done a
Gentlemen, you
Obamacare
realize
is
if you're
no
both
good,
speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare
shit
is
show.
no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on.
it's
We
like
took
getting
away
your
the
breath of
individual
fresh air
mandate.
killed.
We guarantee pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
I took away the individual mandate.
Good. I got my fresh air.
Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed, that they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people, okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
And I
known for.
just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well
This is
you
the
run
worst,
Obamacare, it's a disaster.
worst
It's too
moderated debate
expensive,
I've ever seen.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his
So
people said.
we do want to
No,
get
no,
rid of it.
it's
Chris,
an
we
open
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it,
something
but I have to
cheaper
give
and
you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president.
They're just talking over each other right now.
He
But-
has
Yeah.
no plan.
This is
for
amazing.
healthcare.
Of course we do.
Holy shit, this is
please.
amazing.
He sends out
What's the topic
wishful
now?
thinking.
talking about
Zion,
His
it's
executive
healthcare.
orders have
Yeah.
no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been
Can't wait to
promising
find out if I have a
healthcare
job come
plan
November. I know,
since he
right?
got elected. He has none. Like almost everything else he talks about, he does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right,
He's
I
against
have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the
Yeah,
Supreme Court
right?
here. If Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9
Okay, this is
justices
really
there.
important.
You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the
Yeah,
president.
it was brought up by
It
Chuck
was brought
Schumer.
up by some of your
Yeah.
Democratic colleagues in
I'm
the
saying-
Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it.
Yes, please talk
Are you
about it.
willing to tell the
Why is he
American
still
people
called
This is huge.
vice
This is huge.
whether
Listen
or
up.
not you will support either
was
ending
the
the
vice president.
filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the
Yep.
issue. The issue is
So
the
take a
American
position,
people
Joe.
should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let
Vote
your
now.
senators know how
Are you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure
Go
you,
to
in
Joe
fact,
Biden
let people
at
know.
votenow.org.
Your senator. I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You want
question
Yeah.
a lot
is
of-
Trump's
the
doing
question
great right now.
is just as
The
radical
Put his feet to the
left.
fucking
Would you
fire.
Who
Shut
is
up,
on,
man.
listen, who is on your
Holy
list,
shit.
Joe?
He's such a
Who's
coward
on
for not
your
answering
list?
this.
Gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's gonna pack the
unprecedented.
court.
We have
I know, Zion. I
We've
can't
ended
watch this
segment.
either.
We're going to move on to the
I
second
can't believe he
segment.
skirted that
That was
question. That was so huge, and he just floundered.
Yapping, man.
The people
Keep
understand
yapping!
that.
Oh my
For
god!
47 years,
He's
you've
so
done nothing. They understand.
stupid.
All right.
What
The
is
second
is
subject
happening?
is
I can't
COVID-19.
watch this. This
This
is
is
so
an awfully
stressful. I need
serious
more
subject,
alcohol. Holy
so-
shit.
Let's try to be serious.
Holy shit,
We have
Chris.
had more than
I feel bad for
7
him now.
million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people
Why is he
have
still called
died.
vice
Even
president?
after
Actually,
we
Zion, it's
produce
because vice president is a
vaccine,
lifelong
experts
title.
say
Same
that
for
it could be
president. That's why
months
people
or
still
even
call
years
George
before we
Bush.
come
They
back
still call
to
him President
anything
Bush, and they still call Obama
approaching
President Obama. It's because you
normal.
don't lose the title when
My
you
question
leave office.
for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021.
Still kinda weird, though.
Why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact,
God, this is
have
gonna be terrible.
5%, 4% of the world's population,
Yep.
20% of the deaths.
Right.
40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, "It is what it is."
That's
Well,
true.
It is what it is. because
That was a
you
bad
are who
quote.
you are.
Yeah, that did look pretty
That's
bad.
why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis
Oh,
was.
dude, I feel like we're
Shit,
about
fuck,
to get a
we
China
knew in
virus.
January.
We're about to get a
We-
China
What did he
virus.
do?
Right.
He's on tape. Is acknowledging
Dude, you
he
and
knew.
me were talking about
He
this
said
in
he didn't tell
January.
us or get
So if
ready
he
in the
only knew in
morning of it
February,
because he
then
didn't
our
want
government is
panic
worse than I
in
fucking
America.
thought.
Right?
No panic.
Because
He
we have
can.
podcast
In
evidence that we were
addition to
talking about this in
what did he
January.
do?
Right.
He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China
we
should be able to
fucking
go to
picked up that
Wuhan
story and
and
fucking
determine for
sniped that
themselves.
shit.
We actually
how
did, though. I'm
dangerous this was.
surprised.
He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job
this was that
Xi was
video.
doing. He said we owe him
guy
a
in
debt
Wuhan.
of gratitude
Bro, we should
for
talk
being
about
so
this.
transparent.
Oh,
with
yeah,
us.
you're right.
And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out
Sir,
back
it's
in
his 2
March
minutes.
exactly
it's so
what we
wrong.
should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should
Yeah.
be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money.
I mean, he's right.
You should get
It would
out
be a
of your
baller
bunker and
move
get out of the
for
sand
Trump
trap
right
and
now
get
on
in your
stage to
golf course and
announce
go
a
in the
second round of
Oval
stimulus.
Office and
Like,
bring
that would be
together the
sick,
Democrats,
and it would be
That's
such a
why
mic drop
what needs
moment.
to be
Everyone
done
look
now
under
to
your
Right.
chairs.
Yes.
Yes.
$1,200.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Listen
Exactly.
to you.
Like,
2 minutes.
that's why exactly.
If we would have listened to you,
Yeah. Oh, my God.
the
That would be
country
so
would have
sick,
been
but he
left
won't. 'cause
wide
he's a
open.
fucking
I look under my
Millions
chair
of
and there's a
people would have
check there
died.
for
Not
$1,200.
200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's
Everyone gets a
fault. It should have
nationwide
never
text.
happened. They
That's
stopped
why they
it from
used the
going in,
nationwide
but it was
alert
China's
earlier this
fault.
year. They
And by
said
the
it was
way,
just
when
a
you talk
test,
about numbers,
but
you don't know how
it
many
was
people
actually
died in
for
China.
this moment. They've
You don't
been
know how many
planning it
people
since
died
then.
in Russia.
They're like,
You don't know how many
check
people
your
died in
Social
India. They don't
Security.
exactly give you a
You
straight
have a
count,
Social
just so
Security,
you
you just got
understand.
sent
But if
$1,200.
you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic.
No one
because you
said
didn't think
that.
we should
Literally,
have
no
closed our
one said
country.
that.
No,
Wait a
sir,
minute.
It's his 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing
No
it
one-
early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact,
Phenomenal
people
job.
that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did.
Well, I mean,
we got the
sort of.
gowns, we got the
Like,
masks, we made the
he's
ventilators. You wouldn't have
xenophobic,
made
but, like-
ventilators, and now we're weeks
And
away
it was
from a
weird because
vaccine.
he chose
We're
not to
doing
close the
therapeutics already.
UK
Fewer people are
specifically. Like,
dying
that
when
was
they get
weird.
sick.
Considering
Far
that the
fewer
UK
people
was
are
like some of the
dying.
highest
We've
rate
done
of
a great
infection.
job. The only thing I
And
haven't
he
done a
obviously,
good
like,
job, and that's
specially
because of the
chose
fake
them
news.
because of our
No matter
relationship
what
with
you
them.
say to them, they give
That
you
was
bad
weird.
press on it. It's just
But-
fake news.
but, I mean,
They give
closing
you
the
good
country
press,
wasn't a bad
They give
thing.
me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that.
Never
Oh
done the
my
job
God.
with
I
you.
know how to do the job.
Don't have it in
I
your
know how to get the
blood.
job
Joe,
Well, you didn't do
done.
very well in
You just
swine
don't have
flu.
it. I have the
Oh.
right
H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
There was-
Far
there
less
was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
you made
by
a
the way.
point. Let him answer it.
And there was no one, we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look.
Look,
you
there we
folks
go.
at home,
That's
how
one
many
of
you
them.
get up
Look.
this morning
Biden
and
says,
had an
look,
empty
after being
chair at the
confused.
kitchen table because someone died of COVID?
There we go.
How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
That
Far
is-
more people.
And,
You would have been
And by the way,
months late.
your own,
You were
his
months behind me,
his
Joe.
own CDC
Yelling
director
loudly.
says
Why
we
isn't
could lose
fake-
as many
fake
as
news a
another
sip?
200,000 people
I don't know,
between
sip.
now and the
Fake
end of the
news.
year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers.
He's
just
talking about,
just a
like,
mask.
sip from your
And by the
drink.
way, in terms of the whole notion of a
Oh.
vaccine. We're for
Oh.
a vaccine, but
All right, I'm
I don't
finishing the
trust him
drink,
at
bro.
all.
Fuck it.
Nor do you. I know you don't.
Caleb's already
What
been,
we
like,
trust is a
sipping on it
scientist.
casually.
You don't
We trust
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen,
and
gentlemen, let me
Dude,
let
the
me
thing
move
about,
on
like, drinking
to
games is, like,
questions about
I'm
the
just
future
always
because you
just
both have
drinking
touched
anyway.
on one of the
Yeah,
two
right.
questions I'm going to ask.
Fuck.
Focusing on the future first,
was
President
good, though.
Trump,
Wine's delicious.
you have repeatedly either
You shouldn't
contradicted
chug
or
wine,
been
though.
at
That's
odds
pretty
with
cringe.
some of your government's own top
I just did
scientists.
'cause
The
I'm
week
cool
before
as fuck,
last,
so I can do it.
the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words. But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because
Is
people
it,
like
though?
this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political
Is it,
thing.
though?
I've spoken to Pfizer. I've
political.
spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call it
You're
left, I don't know
Suggesting
what I
that the
call it.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Smawi,
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available, just like
He
Dr.
said it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
What do you mean?
generally
That's like
available.
2
Not
days
Well,
from
we're
now,
going to
right?
deliver it right
Or wait,
away.
no.
We have the military all set up
month and a bit.
logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This
delivering
is the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away.
He did say
By
that.
the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically.
That
That's
was-
so he
I
claims
know
it's
he said that.
sarcasm.
So here's the
So
deal.
there it is. There it
This
is. That's a
man is
huge
talking
claim,
about a
dude.
vaccine. Every serious company is talking about
What?
maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year, but the distribution of that vaccine will not
That
occur
was
until
so
sometime
not
beginning of the
sarcasm.
middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine,
Holy
and
shit, I
pray
can't
God we
believe
That's
will.
malarkey.
Pray God we will.
Mr.
That
Vice
is
President, I want to
fucking
pick up
malarkey.
though.
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question
Sir,
though.
that
You
was
say the
malarkey.
public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out he puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is saying you
no,
can't trust the scientists.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She
the
Yeah, this
said
is a
the
bullshit
public health
question.
experts,
Joe's
quote,
actually right.
will
This
be
is a
muzzled,
this is
will
a
be
bad
suppressed.
faith question.
Well, that's what he's going to
Because
try
they're
to do, but
implying that,
there's
like,
millions of scientists, there's
mistrusting
thousands
Donald
of
Trump in
scientists
this
out there,
case,
like
even
here at this
though
great
he has
hospital, that
scientists
don't
like that are
work for
doing his
him.
will, like
Their
they're
job
implying
doesn't
that
depend on him.
is a distrust of
they're
all
the people-
science, which is
and by the
total
way,
To the
bullshit.
scientists that
and
are
this
in
is a
charge,
bad
the way,
faith
they will
question.
have the vaccine very soon.
This is a really
you
this is a softball to
believe for a
Trump
moment
for him to slam dunk
what
Biden on
he's
this,
telling you,
and it's
in
kind of
light
bullshit that they
all
would
the
ask.
lies he's told you
in my
about
opinion.
the whole issue relating to COVID.
Yep.
He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died. And a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
I mean, he's right. He's
Used the
definitely
word
right.
Smart. So you said
And we've
you
talked
went
about
to
on the
Delaware
podcast the
State, but
dangers
you
of
forgot
rushing
the
a
name of your
vaccine,
college.
and just the
You
fact.
didn't
I
go
mean,
to
I don't
Delaware
trust the
State.
fucking
You
administration,
graduated
dude. No,
either
no
the
one
lowest or
should. so.
almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh,
Don't
give
you
me
Yeah.
Because you know what?
Give me a
There's nothing
break. He
smart
didn't
about
say,
you. For
"Come on,
47
man."
years, you've done
Yeah.
Let's
nothing.
have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
who's-
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had
No.
the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
see, he-
and it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast. I look
Okay.
forward to talking
When
about
it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up
China.
becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide
that
them
to Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to
The-
Nancy
the-
Pelosi.
Damn.
And
Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the
Okay.
Senate.
Let
And he sits on his golf course. And I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably
All right,
play
think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings
more
and the
than I
fact
Well, he wants to shut down this country. and I want to keep it open. And we
You
did a
ju- he
great
just
thing by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute,
Let
Joe.
him
Let me
finish,
shut
sir.
you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd.
I want to move on to another
because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to
thing.
another
I've
subject.
got to respond.
But those states,
I gotta respond to
those
that.
states are
Even
not
actually,
doing
he's
well
watching
that are
the
shut
fucking
down.
Which is
right
gotta
now.
respond to that.
Yeah.
Wants to
President
shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun
This is huge. Everyone in
to
America is watching this right now.
increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease
There are 1
preventer.
million people watching
and
this
in
stream
fact,
that
recently
we're
you have
watching
cited
only.
the issue of waiters touching
This
their
is
masks
one
and
of, like,
touching
35
plates.
streams.
Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here.
Oh my
I'll
God, he just
put
pulled out a
the
mask from
on
his
it when I
pocket.
think
That's
I need
so
it.
fucking
Tonight, as an
cool.
example, everybody's had a test,
Dude,
and
he's
you've had
so good
social
right now.
distancing
What
and all of
happened?
the
Has
things that you
Trump
have
been,
to.
like,
But I
training
wear
for
masks
this?
when needed.
This
When
is
needed,
not the
I wear
Trump we
masks.
know.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't
He's so
wear masks
different.
like
He's gotta
him.
be
Every time
on
you see him, he's
something,
got a
dude.
mask.
Look
He
at
could be
him.
speaking.
Look at how different
200
he's
feet away
acting
from it.
compared
He
to
shows
normal.
up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say
Vice
this.
President Biden, go ahead, sir.
I
Look,
think he's been taking some of
The
that
way to
Trump
open
education.
businesses is giving
Dude,
them the
like
wherewithal
he's
to be
so
able to.
high energy
We
compared to his
provided
usual
money.
self.
The
But I
Congress,
was
Especially
asking you,
because
sir,
it's so
about
late.
masks.
well,
He's like
masks,
waiting for the
masks make a
talking
big
points,
difference.
bro.
His own
Yeah.
head of the CDC said if we just wore
Like,
masks
he already
between
knows
now,
what they're talking about.
everybody wore masks and social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also
It
said the
matters.
opposite. They've
And
also said
no serious person said the opposite.
Oh.
No,
Well, look
serious
Okay.
at
I wanna
Dr.
ask you-
Fauci.
That was a good-
Dr.
that was a
Fauci
good line
said
by
the
Biden.
did
opposite.
not
I
say
want to
the
ask you, we
opposite.
got a
said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not
I
good.
appreciate him
Then he
shutting
changed
down
his
that
mind. He
bullshit
said
point.
masks good.
I
I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both about
masks.
one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside. yes, sir.
Outside.
Vice
He
President
says
Biden,
outside.
You are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up. Well, it's true. Nobody shows up to his
So
rally.
funny.
In any case, why you
you
holding the
think
big
Chris Wallace
rallies?
is, like,
Why you
laughing,
not?
bro?
You go first. sir.
Yeah.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds,
Why do you say
as
it
you
like
see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours' notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see
Go ahead, sir.
one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've
Come
had
on.
no negative
Well,
effect.
that's a
and we've
lie.
had 35, 40,000
All right, do you
people.
wanna-
at
Didn't
these
that
rallies.
one
Just
guy
quickly
literally
finish up 'cause I wanna
die
move
because
on to
he
our next
attended
Yeah.
a Trump
He's
rally?
been
and-
totally
Yes,
irresponsible
I mean, that's
way
what
in
they
which
think. I
has
mean, he
handled
attended the rally and then he
social
happened to
distancing
die.
and people wearing
And then the
masks
Trump people were
basically
like,
encouraged
it's
them
not because
not
he
to.
went to the rally.
All right.
Ben, he's a
He
fool.
just died
If
anyway.
you could get the crowds,
Which is really
you would have
funny.
done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen,
Joe.
can we move on to the
Nobody
economy?
cares.
Nobody
Can we move on to the
cares.
economy?
Nobody cares.
The economy
Nobody cares.
is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean
That's gonna go back
to
down
the
again?
American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this
A
segment, you go
K?
first.
So we built the greatest
What does that
economy in
mean?
history. We closed it down because of the
Hey,
China
hold on.
plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard
I've never heard this
psychologically to
term,
do.
and
He
I'm an
didn't think we should
economist.
close it down, and he was wrong. And again,
that
2
like a
million people
commonly
would be dead
said
now
thing?
instead of Still,
I'm just trying
204,000
to, like,
people
what
is too much.
direction, 'cause if
One
it's like a
person
V,
is too
I
much.
get the V, it's
Should have
like, you
never
know,
happened from
it's
China.
gonna-
Exactly,
it
right?
went down and went back
We
up
closed
again
it
really
down,
quick,
and now
right?
we're reopening,
But like a
and
K,
we're doing
like
record business.
no matter way you
We
put
had
it, like
10.4
put a K
million
like
people
this,
in a
it's still
4-month
like a
period that
V.
we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and depression, start shutting it down. You take a look at what's happening at some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost, it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well.
Yeah, I need a fucking
Another
drink. I'll be back.
billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home,
So I just looked up
you
what
folks living in
K-shaped
Scranton and
recovery
Claymont
means.
and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing?
K-shaped recovery occurs
This
when the
guy
economy
paid a
recuperates
total of
unevenly,
$750 in
and
taxes.
there's separate
Sir,
treatment
wait, no,
of
sir, it's his
society.
turn. Yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back?
Based.
The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and
You're on
open
YouTube,
when you
watch the
have
stream. Go ahead
almost
and like
half
the
the
stream.
states
It
in
helps
America
us
with a
with
significant
discoverability.
increase in COVID deaths and COVID
Yo, Devil,
cases
what's
in the
up,
United
brother?
States of America. And he wants to open it up
time no
more.
see.
Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right, your time is up, sir. We are going to get to.
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Two different
Excuse me, you made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town.
Yeah,
and I'm not
I
sure
guess
it
I
can
get the
ever recover
concept,
what they've
but
done in
I
New
don't
York.
understand
People
that.
want their places open. They want to
I
get
don't
back to
understand
their
that.
lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they
Big
want
old
their
can,
schools
bro.
open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back
It's,
Big Ten
approximately
football. It was
Big as
me,
two
and
ounces, bro.
Miller
I'm
High
very
Life.
happy to do it.
Do what?
And
Big
All
as
right,
two
people of
ounces.
Ohio are very proud of me. And you know
We're
how
going to
I
get
found
back.
out? When he took
Gentlemen,
a phony
we're going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016.
Oh, here we
the
go,
year
here we
you were
go.
elected
That's it.
president, and
That's one of the
2017,
bingo ones.
Your first year as president, that you
$750.
paid $750 a year in federal
Bingo.
income
We got
tax
a thing. on
each of
bingo,
those years.
$750.
I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid
been saying that for
$27
so
million
Show us your
one
tax
year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very, I built a great
I'm asking you a
Release your
specific
tax
question, which
returns.
is...
Let me tell you.
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand all
returns.
of that.
But let me-
No, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to
when?
see it. But let
In
me just
July?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business
said,
people.
"I don't wanna
like
pay
every
tax."
other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a
The
tax
devil
bill
says
that gave us all these
lies.
privileges for
I'm sure you can tell,
depreciation
can't you?
and
Trump
for,
lies. Doesn't he?
tax credits. We build the
They both
building, and we
fucking
get
lie,
tax
man. It's
credits like the
insane.
hotel on
Trump is
Pennsylvania
the
Avenue. You
worst.
get a
Okay.
massive, which, by the way,
Lies
was
about
given to
every
me
fucking
by
thing.
the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired
no,
right after that happened, but
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do
There's
want to
so much
respond.
going on. It's hard to
Look,
get a word
the
in.
tax
Obama speak?
code
You know?
that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher.
rich don't pay taxes. It's so
than
obvious.
the
I know,
money a
right?
school teacher makes.
That's why I'm
is
so like
because
shook
of
that people are
him
getting
he
upset
says
about
he's smart
that,
because
like
he
on
can take
Twitter and stuff.
advantage of the tax
$750. Oh
and
my
he does
god!
take advantage of the
Or like
tax
when the
cuts. That's
Amazon
why
thing came
I'm gonna
out, it's like, of
eliminate the
course,
Trump
hello?
tax cuts. And
No
we're
one,
gonna-
none
we're
of them
gonna
pay
eliminate
taxes.
those
It's
tax
not
cuts
news.
and make sure that we
I'm glad
invest
people
in
are
the
at least
people who, in
realizing it
fact,
now.
need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the
No,
last
wait,
25
no,
years?
let's-
Because
I
you
wanna-
aren't
why didn't you
president.
do it over
Because
the
you
last-
Oh
aren't
my
president
God.
screwing
No,
things
no.
up.
You
George
were a
Bush killed a
senator,
You're the
million
worst
Iraqis.
president America
Apparently
has
Trump's the
ever
worst
had.
Hey,
president
Come
Joe,
we've
on.
ever had.
let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
How?
We've done things that you never even thought
care
of
of the
doing,
vets in
including
what
fixing
way?
the broken military that you gave me, including taking care
we're
of you.
talking,
The
Mr.
VA thing
President,
that
we're
he
talking about
signed?
the economy. I'd like to
I
ask you
guess.
about your plans going forward, because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan,
Weird thing to focus on. It didn't really do
if you
anything.
were to be
Yes,
elected
man.
president,
Trump is
focuses a lot on
purposely
big
interrupting.
government,
He's
big
creating
taxes,
confusion and
big
chaos to win
spending.
the
I wanna
argument.
focus first
Yeah,
on
dude,
the
and
taxes.
it's working.
You
And
propose more
Biden
than
is
$4
crumbling under
trillion
the pressure.
over a decade in new taxes
Wallace is just
on
standing there.
individuals.
And
making
Chris
more
is
than
just letting it happen,
$40,000
yeah.
a
Like
year
a cock in
on
the corner,
corporations.
beating his meat,
President
doing
Trump
nothing.
says that kind
Yeah.
of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would
face.
create 7
at his
million
fucking
more
face,
jobs than
man.
his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made
Donald Trump's like,
by
I like
a
what I'm
company
hearing.
in
Respectfully,
America.
sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Well,
Why does
by
he
the way,
make
I'm
this
gonna
face?
eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%.
He makes
You
that
have
face? What's wrong with him?
91
wants to
companies,
kiss him.
in the Fortune 500 who
up.
don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when
dollars.
you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
That's right.
your
I got
tax
it-
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what
Yeah,
happened?
you got it done.
Our economy boomed
And,
like it's never boomed
The
before.
economy
Well,
is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me
wait, no,
finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
I'm about to do a
Let me-
poll on
but
Twitter.
in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming, it turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million.
Leave it to the
more
Democrats to
jobs
sabotage
than in the
themselves. I'm
first
so
3
done.
years
Third
of
party
your
now.
presidency.
They had the
Dude,
slowest
hell yeah, bro. I
recovery
recommend voting for the
since
Green Party.
economic recovery
Or if
since
you don't like the Green Party for
1929.
some
It
reason,
was the
PSL is
slowest
another good
recovery.
party. Gloria
Also, they
Riva.
took over something that was
and,
down here. All you had to do is turn on
Howie
the lights and you
Hawkins.
pick up a lot. But
I
they
really
had the
believe in
slowest
those
economic
campaigns. I
recovery
think
since
your
vote
1929. Let me tell you
would
about
be
the
good
stock
there.
market. When the stock market goes up,
pull
that
up
means
on
jobs.
Twitter.
It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of
Half of the
companies that are
companies-
already here, they'll leave for
hardly any
other
companies
places.
have
They will
poured in
leave,
here.
and you will have a
Have it-
depression, the likes of which you've never
Go ahead
seen.
and
Look,
go on that poll
Mr.
right
we
now.
Vice President.
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
he
booming.
Blew it. He blew
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery
Sir, is it
since
fair to, wait, is it fair to,
1929.
is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID came in.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Did he just say
It's
you're a
number
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 two?
two.
Chris,
Number three.
They said
he really
it would
just
take-
say
no,
that?
you were number two.
No.
You're,
Chris,
Trump.
you're number two.
They
Did he
said
really just
it would
say
take
you're a
a
number
miracle
two?
to bring back
the fuck
manufacturing.
even is
I
that?
brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
No
We're
libertarians
outstanding
either.
fair.
They're Republicans
I'm
who
the
want
guy-
to
He
smoke
totally
weed,
gave up
Green
on
Party, or I
manufacturing.
don't vote at all.
We
Bro,
brought back-
fucking
I was asked
retweet
to
on
bring
that
back
one.
Chrysler
American
General Motors,
libertarians
brought
are the
it
most
back right here in the
cucked
state of
fucking
Ohio
people
and
in the
Michigan.
world, man.
He blew it. They're gone.
Makes me
He
sick,
blew it.
bro.
And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year.
Yeah.
Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies
No,
came in from Germany, from
not-
Japan,
no.
went to Michigan,
No,
went to
that's-
Ohio.
They're not
He's
having
And
it.
they didn't
Wait,
come
wait,
in with
wait,
you.
Mr. Vice
Yeah,
President.
he's okay hand
And so
signing, dude.
you
It's
take a
an
look at what
alt-right
he's actually
signal, bro.
done.
Look, now I'm gonna get
He's
screen
done
capped.
very little.
Make
It's
this
trade
the
deals are
fucking
the same way. He talks
thumbnail.
about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of
And
the
the comedy
deal.
flag in the
China's
background.
perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit.
China
with
ate
There we
your
go. That's
lunch,
Joe
China
Biden's
ate
son.
10%.
There we
China
go,
ate your
Hunter
lunch,
Biden.
Joe. And no wonder your
That's
son
another
goes in and
bingo,
he
baby.
takes out. He takes out.
This is the state of
billions
the bingo
dollars,
card right
takes
now.
out billions of
We're
dollars to
looking
manage. He
at
makes millions
if
of
we
dollars.
can get
And
soul of our
also,
nation
while we're at
and
it, why is
Trump.
it, just out of curiosity,
Trump tries
the
to
mayor
say
of
something woke
Moscow's
but says something
wife gave your
racist, that
son
would be a
$3.5
full
million.
bingo already.
What did he do to deserve it?
That
What
is-
did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that-
deserve
Wait, wait,
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
your
is
question,
true.
let him answer. If
None of that is true.
Really? He didn't
Totally
get
no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr.
Hunter's
President,
doing
It's
coke, bro. He
President,
fucking
please.
loves coke.
Totally
Ask a question.
discredited.
Hunter Biden
Totally
loves
discredited.
cocaine,
By
bro.
the
He
way,
loves
wait,
that
he
shit.
got
That's what he does for
$3.5
fun.
million, Joe?
It's the only
Mr.
thing that
Vice-
makes
He
him
got
feel
$3.5
alive.
million.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
honestly,
President,
same.
it's an open discussion.
Yo,
Please.
speaking of coke,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not.
raised an issue. Let the
Been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
no
my
job?
son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
the only guy
President,
that
let him
did
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And
The
Ukraine.
media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under.
He got $3.5 million from
testified-
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said,
right,
I
I'm back.
did my job and I did it very well.
So I got
did
some
it
I don't even know
under
who
oath."
they are.
after 3
Every,
minutes
well, I'll
of
give you the
five-
list of
five
the
minutes
people who
in right
testified.
now.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure,
We got
you've
who
already
is winning
fired
right
most
now,
of them
and,
because they
Donald
did a
Trump's
good
winning
job.
with
Some people
60%
don't
of
do
the
a
Well,
good
here's
job.
the,
Joe
Yep.
Biden.
You
Go ahead.
Well,
You get
here's
the,
the
wait a
deal.
minute. You get the final word, Mr.
well, it's hard to get any word in.
Hunter,
at this
bring me some of
time.
that coke. I'm
Excuse
having
me,
a hard
Hey,
time.
let me
for
just
ya.
tell you.
No, no,
Dude,
no.
Trump has
I
got to
mean,
be
Mr.
on
President,
something. He's so
$3.5
lively
million, Joe.
tonight.
That is simply.
like
Why did he
Not true.
deserve
Some
$3.5
shit.
Yeah, he
million
should be
from Moscow?
sundowning
Look,
right now too. It's
here's the
a little
deal.
bit past his
You want
bedtime.
to talk about families and ethics? I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about
Dude,
all
that's why I
night.
do it
His
so
family's
late.
already.
I literally
Why
can't
is
even
that-
hear
why
anything
is
they're
that
saying. They're
low?
just
The
talking
fortune
over
they're
each other
coming down and
constantly.
helping us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's
This is
such
such
a
a
great-
shit
Mr.
show.
That's
President.
such
Every
a great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us
family.
with
It's
government.
about
I
your
should walk off the
family.
stage.
They
The
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5
He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't
You don't
want to
deserve me.
talk talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right,
take
that's
it.
the,
Not
end of
about
the, that's the end of the
Shouldn't
segment.
have
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no,
can I
it's-
be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No, I-
He
I-
stood up.
No,
He stood up
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
That
get rid
is
of the Russians.
you know what, you're-
absolutely
wait,
not
stop.
You're
true.
on tape doing it.
You're going to
You're on
have
tape.
True.
Gentlemen,
This is so stupid.
I hate to raise
Our
my voice,
country
but I
is
see it seems
so
to be.
shit.
Why should I be different than
What
the
is
two of
wrong
you?
with this
So
shit?
here's the
That's a
deal.
good point.
We have
God, this is the most
6
powerful man
segments.
in
We have
the
ended that
universe right now.
segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything
Can they
you
like
want.
cut the commercials?
I'm
and,
going to
like,
ask
change
a
up the
question about
format?
race, but if you want to answer
Right.
about something
Not
else, go
working.
ahead. But
Yeah,
we-
this
I
free
think that the
speech is just
country would be
not.
better
Free speech is a
served
failed
if
fucking
we
experiment.
allowed
This is what
both
free
people
speech
to
leads
speak
to,
with
man.
Fewer interruptions.
This is why I'm a
appealing to you,
Marxist.
sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
No free speech
Well,
allowed in
frankly,
I'll
you've
Marxism.
been
remind
doing
everyone
more
in chat
interrupting.
to
That's
watch
all right,
the
but he does
stream
plenty.
On Twitch, follow.
Well, less
on
than,
YouTube, like
sir,
the
less
video.
than,
plenty.
no,
Helps
less
with
than you have.
discoverability.
Let's please continue on.
Love you.
The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President
Talked.
Trump's response
talked.
to the violence
I'm cleaning
in
theater seats
Charlottesville
while listening to
3
this. I
years
want to
ago,
stop because if this
when
is
he
our
talked
future, there's no
about
point.
Very fine people
Corey,
on both sides.
you are a
was
soldier,
what
man.
directly led you
Yeah, stay safe
to
out there,
launch
man.
this run for president.
Dangerous.
Jeez.
President
Outfield.
Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done
By the way,
more
man is gender neutral.
for black Americans
Anyway,
than
they
any
said they will
president
not have
with the
commercials. I
possible
know, we really need a
exception
break from this
of
shit.
Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you
They probably
is
will
why
take a break
should
at some point
voters
just for the
trust you rather
contestants.
than your opponent
Yeah.
to deal
So
with
they
the
go
race
pee.
issues
Yeah,
facing this
yeah.
country
Get
over
some
the next 4
They're
years?
old men, dude. They
Vice
can't do
President
this
Biden,
for
you
like
go
3
first.
hours.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people looked like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever said anything like
Donald
that.
Trump was like the
It is
KK.
Now,
2
second,
minutes, sir.
second point I'd make to you
Good people on
is
both
that
sides.
when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist
Donald Trump's
division.
literally about to do
This is a man
this
who, in
on
fact,
cam, bro.
you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is the savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did.
He's very
And what he
right,
did has
but
been
Joe has
disastrous
not done
for the
anything for
African
black
American
people
community.
either. So it's kind of
So,
hypocritical. of him to
President
say
Trump,
that.
you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust
Yeah,
you
see,
over your
yes,
opponent? to
Trump
deal
is
with
making.
racism?
Oh my
The
God,
crime
he's
bill,
owning him right now.
1994, where you call them super
He did say
predators,
that.
African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that,
Oh my
and they
God.
call you a super predator, and
Trump
I'm
is
letting
so
people
good.
out of jail now that you have treated the African
right.
American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators.
I
and
know,
you've
right?
called them worse than that.
We need that for
Because you
bingo,
look back
Devil.
at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals. Total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement
Democrats don't really
group
like cops
in the
right now.
United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words,
Law
you're
and
going to lose
order.
all of your
gonna
radical
lose all
left
of his
supporters.
radical
And
left
why aren't
supporters.
you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you
man.
say the words
Why
law
don't you say
enforcement?
law
Because
and order?
you know what? If they called us in
Radical
Portland,
left
we would put out that fire
Democrats.
in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities
Radical
are run
left.
by Democrats and in many
so
cases
done.
radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this
I'll say it.
country
He's gonna say it, watch.
want and demand
Law and order.
and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen.
are, though,
These
Joe.
cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest?
President Trump,
No,
I'm
it's
not
not,
asking-
but you say it is.
President
did not
Trump, I'd
say
like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment.
Dude, I'm
This month,
waiting for the
your administration directed
crisis
federal
saying woke,
agencies
but
to
says
end
saying racist.
racial sensitivity training
Devil
that
says
addresses white
Biden and
privilege
Clinton
or
put a
critical
generation of
race
black
theory.
men into prison for
Why
nonviolent
did you
drug
decide
offenses. They
to
built
do
a
that,
police
to
state
end
that Trump
racial
is now
sensitivity
employing.
training?
Exactly,
And
man.
do
Yeah,
you
I mean,
believe
they
that there is
refuse to
systemic
admit that, but
racism in
it's
this
true.
country,
And
sir?
that's why it's
I ended
funny
it
that
because
Trump
it's
brings it
racist.
up. I think
ended
it's a
it
great
because
point
a lot
for
of
Trump to bring
people
up
were
because he's
complaining
100%
that
right.
they
I
were
agree with
asked to
everything
do
he
things
said.
that were absolutely
Like,
insane.
Biden is largely
that it was a
responsible. I mean, he
radical
wrote the crime
revolution
bill
that was
he's
taking
talking
place
about.
in our military.
We've talked about this before.
In
You know,
our
he's
schools,
very largely
all
responsible
over
for
the
the mass
place,
incarceration
and you know
of
it,
black
and
men.
so does
especially
everybody
in
what
this
is
else.
country.
radical?
And he would know.
What is
Oh, it's
radical
totally
about
racist.
If you're a black person, it's
sensitivity
really hard to
If
like
you
look
were
at Joe
a
and be
certain
like,
person,
yeah, he cares
you
about
had
black
no
people.
status in life. It was
Like,
sort of a
why would you
reversal.
think that?
And if you look at the
Doesn't make
people, we
sense.
were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people
Slavery?
that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our
Yeah,
country.
he's right.
And I'm
No
not going to
one
allow
did.
that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing
That was epic.
He's he's
Oh,
the
you-
racist.
you just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
you
this.
don't.
than you do.
Racist
Let him
live
finish.
on stage. Let's go.
The fact is that
Bernie would
That was-
never do
that was
that.
pretty nice.
racial
Yeah,
insensitivity.
no.
People have to be made aware.
He probably
of
would
what
now,
other
but back
people
when he
feel
was
like,
actually like in the contention, he
what,
wouldn't.
what insults them, what is
That's why
demeaning to
Joe
them.
Biden's just more
It's
radical
important
than
to people know they don't want to.
Yep.
Many people don't want
That's
to
why I'm a
hurt other
Marxist
people's
Bidenist.
feelings.
Dude, my
but
hair
it's
looks like
it makes a
shit
big
right
difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem.
Better.
It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith.
so
They look down on
exhausting. Holy
people
shit.
who are a different color.
Yeah. He
just
In
keeps
fact,
talking.
we're all
My
Americans.
fucking-
The only
my
way we're
brain
going to
is
bring this
literally
country together
rotting
is
away.
bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if
But
we
we do it
do
for
it
you.
together. We can
Yep.
take this on and we can defeat
Blood of
racism.
Carol.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson. You look at you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but the
Lord.
reason
This
is
is
that the
ridiculous.
Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime.
still haven't mentioned.
Violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow
Are you in
it, and a little
favor
bit
of law and order? Go
yes,
ahead,
I'm
say
in
it.
favor.
You
Everybody's
asked a
in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
Law
He'll
and
lose
order.
his
Law
lefty.
and
No,
order.
Let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people
said
get
it.
treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%,
Yeah,
15%.
it's dumb for
in
Biden
our
to bring that up
administration.
because
it's gone up on
crime
his
went
watch.
down under
He-
Trump as
more
well.
He
in
had-
ours.
All right,
What-
we're
Doesn't
we're
make
now-
sense.
you're-
President of
Mr.
the
President,
United
you're going
States
to.
of
That just is
America.
it's
Mr.
just
President,
a
every
product
record
of
of
our
the
Mr. President, you're
economic
going to be very happy
status.
because we're now going to talk
Has
about
nothing
law
to
and
do with
order.
what
Yes,
they
we had
did.
trouble. We're Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
so
my question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It
Republican
is
cities.
crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left
Dude,
supporters.
Joe Biden looks
And
like
once
he's,
he does that,
running
it's
out of
over with.
breath.
But
Like,
if he
Donald
ever got
Trump
to
is,
run this
sucking his
country
life
and they
force
ran
right
it the
now.
way he would want to run it, we would have
We would
our
run it
suburbs
the
would be
way-
gone. By the way,
Suburbs.
our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
would
seen.
know a
before.
suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead.
I was,
Wait a minute.
I was
So much
raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles on racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means
Let me, if I might finish the question.
Oh, God,
What does
Black Lives
reimagining
Matter, fuck,
policing
I'm
mean,
drinking.
and do you support the Black
Fucking
Lives
drinking
Matter
without 'em, bro.
call for community control of policing?
look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what
in
they're
prevent-
talking about,
That's-
Chris. That's
well,
not what
that-
they're.
that's
He's talking about
exactly-
defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law
Do you,
Would you-
law
support.
and
He has
order?
no law enforcement
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
look,
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
we don't have time to do
No,
anything.
think
so
about
listen,
it.
look,
Name
folks,
one law enforcement group that came out and
I
supported
think, gentlemen,
you.
I'm going to take back the
There aren't.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities.
Dude, both of the
that
people
have
on
turned
stage
violent.
right
In
now are
Portland,
going to give
Oregon,
cucked as fuck
especially, we had
answers about this
more than
question.
100
Tell
straight
you right
days
now.
of protests.
Because
which I
Biden
think
is
you would agree,
no
you're talking about
better
peaceful protests.
than
Many
Trump
of those
on this
turned
point.
into riots. Mr.
At
Vice
all.
President,
They have the same opinion.
you say that
They
people
literally
who
think
commit
the same
crimes
thing.
should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted, and anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people,
He's never
the
said
leader. Excuse me, sir. You have never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call
Because
bring in
they-
the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here,
Oh, really?
here's the thing.
I sent in the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals to
question.
get the killer
No,
of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3
Mr.
days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump-
anything.
By
I
the
sent
way-
in the U.S. Marshals.
President
They took
Trump-
care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his own former
talking about the
spokesperson
ex,
said,
that fucking
you know,
guy who
riots and chaos
himself
and
to
violence help his cause.
I'm
That's
not
what
really
this is all
sure,
about.
I don't know who
actually.
said that.
I do.
Maybe the Trump supporter who
think
was
it-
like armed, who
Kellyanne
got in a
Conway.
gunfight with
I don't
police,
think she
maybe.
She said that. And so here's the
All
thing.
right.
But here's the point.
Go
The
ahead,
point
sir.
is that that's what he is, keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire.
Put a bow
constantly,
on this.
Every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to
put a
end
bow
this,
on this
button
riot.
up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly
Well, wait, I
criticized.
have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
you have
just one
repeatedly.
second.
Oh my God, dude,
You made a
this is
statement.
ridiculous.
I'm asking you.
I would
no,
love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
you
we
know, if
would
you want to
very
switch
Is
it
he
up,
threatening to
let's-
call the
Yeah,
National
very
Guard on
quickly.
We
Chris
can do that, but
Wallace?
I
If
or
they
know-
something?
send in the National Guard, it would
About
be
to
over.
deploy
They'd
the
be
I will
done.
go-
But they don't want to
Here's
accept
what's
the
gonna
National
happen.
Guard.
I'm
You
gonna
have
call the
repeatedly
National Guard.
criticized the
And they're
vice
gonna moderate
president
this
for not
debate.
specifically
Yeah.
calling out Antifa
Fucking put a
and
gun
other
to Chris
left-wing
Wallace's head.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need
That's
to
as
stand
huge
down
as
and
fucking
not
base.
add to the violence in a number of
condemn them
these
live on
cities, as we
stage?
saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do
specifically
that.
do it? Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
what are you-
If
what are you-
look-
what are you
I'm-
saying?
I'm
Condemning
willing to
them.
do anything.
Say
I want to
Antifa.
see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do
Say
it. Say it.
Antifa.
You want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to
supremacists.
condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists
What?
and white
Proud
militia.
Boys.
Yes, he
Stand
said
back
it.
and
That's
stand
it.
by. But I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
That's bingo
Somebody's
right
got
there,
to do
brother.
something about
Let's go.
Antifa and
We
the
don't have
left
full
because this
bingo,
is
but
not
that's
a
one of our
right
squares.
wing problem.
His own
This is a left wing.
FBI director
This
said,
is a
Joe's actually making a
left-wing
good point right now.
white
Go ahead.
supremacist.
Antifa is not an
Antifa is
organization,
an
it's an
idea, not
ideology.
an organization.
you
which
got
one?
to be
Not
kidding.
militia. That's what
Oh, really?
his
It's an idea.
FBI,
Wait, which
his
one do you do?
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're
Everybody-
moving on to the next.
everybody
We're
gives
moving.
When a
you
bat
advice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's not
administration.
an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you
Did
the
he call
truth is
Joe
that's a
Biden the
bad
leader of
idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are
Antifa
But he's
is a
implying it.
dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the
And
Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful.
records.
The bottom
They'll
left.
overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's
The devil.
sayings, which is, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you.
It's a great question for
why
both of these
should
people.
voters elect
Why should I
you
elect Trump
president
knowing he's a
over
dumb
your
fuck
opponent
with
in
no
this
agenda,
segment?
aka
President Trump,
or
you go
just a
first, 2
racist
minutes.
agenda? And why should I elect
Because
Joe Biden
there
for
has
literally
never
the same
been
reasons?
An administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite
not you,
the
the devil.
impeachment hoax.
That's funny.
And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all
He's
of these
stealing your
things, where I
name,
had
bro.
to
You
fight
should sue.
both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe, and then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. He was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left
He's right.
us
Damn.
128
He's so
openings,
fucking right right now.
You
It's
can't be a
insane.
good president. You can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost.
Jesus,
it'll
he's so
probably be
right. The
above that
Democrats
number
did
by the
not
end of this term.
seize the control they should have
300
when they had
judges,
full
it's a
control of the
record.
government. Trump is
Looking at
making a
both your
great
records,
point, and he's pointing
why
out
should
one
voters
of the
elect
main
you
failures
president
of the
as
Democratic
opposed
Party
to
really,
President Trump?
is
You have
when
2
they're
minutes
in power, they
uninterrupted.
don't actually
Under this
do
president, we
anything. They
become
just
weaker,
sit there and moan and
sicker,
bitch until they
poorer,
eventually get voted
more
out, and
divided,
Republicans
and more violent.
slide us to the right a little
When
bit,
I was
like the fucking
vice
Cupid
president,
shuffle.
we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused a recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his
Oh my
stuff.
God.
He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses
Such a
to even
bad
say
point.
anything to Putin.
I would
about
own
the
Biden on
bounty
this
the
point
heads
so
of
hard if I
American
could debate
soldiers.
him,
Your son
bro.
got $3
No, no, no.
In the marketplace of
Okay.
ideas,
And
if
by
no
the way,
less.
Mr.
my
President,
son-
wait a minute.
Ooh,
Mr.
it would be
President,
so sad
your
for him.
campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can you
Because-
add
No,
back
no,
30
no,
He's
I'm
a
not
person
asking.
that's
That was a
not yelling,
rhetorical
that's all.
question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah,
Because-
yes,
okay.
you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
Damn,
So,
added another 30 seconds,
thirdly,
bro.
we're poor. The billionaires have
Donald
gotten
Trump outdo.
much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you
It's
got
like a
less.
like a
You're
statement
in more
detector.
trouble than you were before.
Yeah.
In terms of being more violent, when we were in office,
You know
there
how
were
cats do that
15%
thing where they're
less
like-
violence in America than there
Yeah.
is today.
Whenever they smell something
He's
weird, they're
president
like,
of the United States. It's on
That's like
his
Trump's
watch.
thing. He's like-
and with regard to more divided,
Tilts his head.
the nation can't stay divided. It can't be
Yeah.
this way. And speaking
head
of
is on
my
a
son, the
constant
way you
tilt,
talk
dude.
about the military,
I don't
the way
think
you
it's
talk
ever,
about
like,
them being
up
dude,
right.
I
losers
can't. I don't
and
think he
being-
stood up
and-
straight
and-
this
and-
long
and
for
just
like
being
probably
suckers.
a decade.
My son.
Dude,
was
look at his
in
hair.
Iraq.
Look how you can
Spent
just
a year
see
there.
through
See,
straight to
right?
his scalp.
Right.
It's
He got a
crazy,
Bronze
dude.
Because they're
Got the
old-ass
Conspicuous
fucking
Service
men.
Medal. He was
Dude,
not
I
a
always
loser.
think my hair is kind
He
of
was
thin.
a
Like, I'm like, oh, I
patriot,
can see my
and the
scalp
people
like a
left
tiny
behind
bit
there
if you're
were
like looking at a
heroes. And I
specific
resent-
angle.
You're talking
Like,
about
Then I
Hunter?
see
Are
his
you
hair and I
talking
feel a
talking
lot
about
better
my
about
son,
myself.
Bo
My hair is
Biden.
a
You're talking
fucking
about
I don't
Beto.
know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter
yeah.
got thrown.
Yours is like
Hunter got
thick.
thrown out of
Yours
the
is
military.
thicky wicky,
He was
dude.
thrown out.
You have that
dishonorably
20-year-old
discharged
hair.
That's
You
not
know what
true.
I
He
mean?
wasn't
Like, that'll go
14
away.
years,
Like someday.
And he didn't have a job
Enjoy
until
that
you
shit,
became
bro.
vice president. And once you
Get
became
as much
vice
pussy as
president,
you
he
can.
made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son-
fortune.
My son.
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people, we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why
I'm
was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions
All
of
right.
But he
dollars?
wasn't given
All right.
tens of millions
was
of dollars.
given
That
tens
is
of
totally,
millions of
that's
dollars.
been totally
President Trump,
discredited.
we've already been
True.
Already
discredited.
Good point, Chris.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a,
I know,
a
but when
judgment
somebody
call here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay, great.
from the
Let's
mayor
talk about-
of Moscow,
let's talk
That is
about-
not
I think
true.
it's a terrible
That
thing.
report is totally
Why did he get
discredited.
it?
I
Mitt
think,
Romney on that committee
when
said
Hunter
it wasn't
Biden
worth
gets brought up,
taxpayers'
bro,
money. That report
Trump
was
just
written for
goes
political
off, man.
reasons.
you know,
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about climate
Was
change.
Hunter
So
booted
would
from the
I.
military for cocaine
Okay.
use? He was.
The
yes.
forest fires in the
I
West are
think it was
raging
the
now. They
Air
have
Force
burned
though, not
millions
the
of acres. They
not the
have
army. Or you
displaced
said military,
hundreds
so yeah,
of
he
thousands
was.
of people. When state
I think
officials
he,
there
he
blamed the
pissed hot
fires
on a
on
drug
climate
test
change,
or
Mr.
something.
President, you said, I don't
Which
think
means he was
the
using
science
cocaine like
knows.
right
Over
before
your
he
4
took the
years,
test, basically.
you have pulled the U.S.
Which
out
is,
of the Paris
pretty rough.
Climate Accord. You have rolled
good
back
luck.
a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate
Oh, talking
change?
about climate change?
And what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I think they were going
I
to talk about
want
this.
crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's
He's
good.
not
We're
answering the
planting a
question.
billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
You
exciting
believe
for a lot of people.
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions
He's
in
right
power
about that.
plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the case of
$3,500.
California, they've simply
No, but you
ignored
would take
your-
a lot
your
of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able
Yeah,
to
he's
afford
actually
a car.
right, but he
Now,
doesn't know why he's
so-
right.
and by the way,
he's
we're gonna
right
see how
because
that
for the
turns out.
average
But a lot of
person,
people
you're
agree
not
with
really
me. Many
concerned
people.
much with the
The car has
environment
gotten
when you
so
need to
expensive
spend money
because they
to
have
survive.
computers all over the
But
place
for the
for an
government,
extra
though,
little bit
they
of
should
gasoline. And
do sweeping
I'm okay
things
with
that
electric
are,
cars, too. I think
you
I'm all
know,
for
in the
electric
interest of
cars.
the
I've given
environment.
big
That's due
incentives
to
for electric
something
cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
What is this concept? I'm a
Vice
little bit
President
fucking,
Biden, I'd like you to
inebriated right now,
respond
but
to
it's like
the president's climate
this
change
concept
record, but I
where
also
like
wanna ask
whenever
you
everyone's
about a
doing
concern.
things
You
for their own
proposed
personal
$2 trillion
interests,
in
like
green
society will
jobs.
never
You talk
overcome
about
societal
new limits,
problems.
not abolishing, but new limits on fracking,
And that's why the government
ending the
needs
use of
to
fossil fuels to
supersede
generate electricity by
individuals in order to solve
2035,
those big
and
problems.
zero net emission of greenhouse gases
And
by
Trump
2050.
refuses to do that, so.
The president says a lot
tragedy
of
of
these
the
things
commons,
would
that's what-
tank the
that's what the
economy and
term
cost
is.
millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our
loves doing
administration,
that.
the Recovery
Number one,
Act, I
he's
was
wrong.
I was in charge,
Number
able to bring
two.
down the cost of
So
renewable
number three.
energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and
Yo,
gas
guys.
and oil.
He says the
Nobody's going to build another.
So we're drinking,
coal-fired
you know,
plant
but
in
here's the
America.
thing. Here's the
No one's
important
going
thing.
to build another oil-fired plant in America.
When you're
They're gonna
drinking, you
move
got to
to
make sure you're
renewable
drinking enough
energy,
water,
number one.
get
Number
enough
two,
hydration,
we're
but
gonna make
also, you
sure
know,
that
you want
we
to
are
take
able
your
to
vitamins
take
and
the
minerals, keep your heart
federal
healthy,
fleet and turn
take
it
your
into a
fish
fleet that's
oil, your
run
omega-3
on
fatty
their
acids.
electric vehicles, making sure
I'm
that we
gonna
can do
take
that. We're going
3
to put 500,000 charging
I'm
stations
fucking
and
crazy.
all of the highways that we're going to be
And,
building
yeah,
in the future.
washing it
We're
down
going
with
to
some
build
Miller High
an
Life,
economy
the
that in
champagne of
fact
beers.
is going to provide for
Never
the
take
ability us
alcohol
to
with your
take 4
medication,
million buildings and make sure that they in fact are
Not with your
weatherized
medication, but
in a way that
Caleb
in
is
fact
a
will
Fish oil.
emit-
professional
they'll
actor.
emit significantly significantly less
Fish oil is
gas
okay.
and oil because the heat will not be
It's
going
just a
out.
dietary
There's so many
supplement.
things that we can do now to
not
create
technically medication.
thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs, not 15 bucks an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure
this
that in
exact
fact is
line
green.
before.
And the first
I'm
thing I
having
will do,
deja
I
vu.
will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out
Fuck,
of it,
man.
look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforest of Brazil.
David,
are
I'm a
being
little tipsy,
torn
man.
down, are
I'm
being
gonna need
ripped
you to
down.
help guide me
More-
through this
more
night, bro.
carbon is
I can't
absorbed in that
I can't
rainforest
stand
than
this.
every bit of carbon
It's
that's
almost
absorbed in
over.
the United
Yeah, it's
States.
almost over.
Instead
Thank
of doing
God.
something
We've been
about
streaming for an hour
that,
and 30
I would be
minutes, so
gathering
that's
up and
almost
making
over.
sure we had the countries
has
of
to
the
be,
world
bro.
coming
Said
up
it
with
was gonna
$20
end at
billion.
10:30,
Say,
so-
here's $20 billion. Stop.
We gotta
Stop
go for like 10 more minutes.
tearing down the forest. And if you
we can play
don't,
some
then you're going to
squad.
have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure
Methane.
that methane's not
You
a
keep
problem.
saying it.
You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles
Jesus,
that
okay.
exist now.
But
This
I'm
is a
going to
guy
count
who
that as
says
Biden loses train of
well,
thought.
The fact is, it's all true.
On
And
the
here's
bingo
thing.
sheet.
About the Green New
Just
Deal.
to give
and
Stream
it's
an
not
update,
$2
this is what the
billion
bingo
or
sheet's
$20
looking
billion,
like.
as you
We're
said.
missing a couple
It's
squares here.
$100
And the
trillion.
debate is coming to a
I'm talking
close. So
about
if
where
we
they
could
wanna
get
rip down buildings
Obama
and
voice,
and
actually,
rebuild the
we
building.
could definitely
It's the
win. So
dumbest,
keep an
most
eye out for
ridiculous
that
not-
one.
Where airplanes are out
Okay.
of business,
That's it.
where two-car systems
know
are
if you
out,
hear the
where they
Obama
want to
voice
take
chat.
out the cows too.
Not
That's not
true.
true either, right?
Not
This is
true.
a 100
Simply,
trillion.
look,
That's more money than our
that is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going.
the case.
All right,
It
let me
will destroy
because,
our
because I
country.
actually, wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say
Thousands
that
and
sounds
millions of
like it's going to
jobs.
cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to
He
do is going
doesn't
to
know
create
how to do that.
thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100
They-
billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good-paying jobs, and these tax incentives to
By the
people,
way,
for
this
people to
Democrat
weatherize, which he wants to
talking
get,
point about
get rid of.
creating
It's gonna
good-paying
make the
jobs is a
economy much
total
safer. Look
red
how much we're
herring.
paying now
And I
to
recommend
deal with the
anyone watching the
hurricanes,
stream
with
right
the
now,
deal with- by the way,
check
he
out
has
the
an answer for
podcast called
hurricanes. He said,
Citation
"Maybe we should drop the
Needed.
nuclear weapon on
They have a
them."
great
I never
episode
said
about this
that.
exact
He
thing.
did say
Democrat
that.
and Republican
And here's
obsession
the
with
deal.
job
Make up
creation
we're
and how
gonna
it's just
be in
a
a position
total
where
farce
we can
created by
create
them to make you
hard,
think that they're actually
hard,
doing something
good
when they
jobs
are
by
not.
making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen,
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is not
$20
my
billion.
plan.
That's
The Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
You want to
All right,
rebuild
all right.
every
If he knew
you have to-
anything
wait, no,
about,
wait.
if he
Gentlemen?
knew
He
anything
made a
about,
statement
Gentlemen?
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
and he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He
Mr.
said
Mr.
stupid
Please,
bastards. He
not
said
true.
it.
Stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that
play
to
it.
the military.
Play it.
You
Go
stupid
ahead.
bastard.
Mr. Vice
tape.
President, answer
Clap
his-
for that,
his
you
final question.
stupid
The final
bastards.
question is, I
was
can't remember
funny.
which of all his rantings.
was
was the
funny.
final question.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the
the-
idea of what your
the
environmental
Green New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay
Create
for
millions
itself
and
as we move
billions
forward.
jobs.
We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build.
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support that?
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
You don't? Oh, well, that's a
you
big
let-
statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
Biden-
lost the radical left.
By the way, if you want to read a great book on the topic of the Green New Deal, read the book called A Burning
Right,
Case
gentlemen,
for a Green
final
New Deal.
segment.
Great book
Election
that points out
integrity. As
why
we
Joe
meet
Biden
tonight,
and his
millions
friends
of
are totally
Americans are
wrong.
receiving
and
mail-in
the
ballots
Green
or
New Deal
going
is
to vote
necessary.
early.
Election integrity.
How
handing
confident
over the power
should we
of
be
presidency.
that this
Yeah, let's
will
see what
be
Trump
a
says
fair
here. This will be
election?
fun.
And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make
That's
sure
not
they can
gonna happen,
socially
by the way.
distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate.
Imagine having the
Show
same
up and
voting
vote.
system for the last
You will
300 years.
determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over.
He's very
gonna
confident about that.
He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
That was a nice little line
President,
by Joe,
2
I
minutes.
think.
So
That was pretty strong.
When I listened to Joe talking about
8
a
points to
transition,
Gryffindor.
there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition, because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better
Ben
take a
Shapiro
look
just
at
tweeted,
that,
"Okay,
because we
guys,
caught
I'm
you in a
non-favored
sense.
by
And
trial by combat."
President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free
That would
transition.
be amazing.
As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd,
Right.
you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for
is big,
months,
actually.
because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say, you have to have your ballot in by November 10th. November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major
no,
states with
time-
that,
sir,
all run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is too
Chris is just
All run by
laughing at
Democrats.
him.
It's a
President
fraud.
Trump,
It's a rigged
too
election.
savage,
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a
Chris Swall's behind
disaster.
a
You
lawyer.
say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last
That's-
midterm
it's
election,
really black behind
31 million people voted
Good thing there are no
mail-in
police there.
voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what
They
are you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
If there
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now,
do
what
is
are
you
you
go
gonna
and
do?
vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and that's
I'm not-
okay,
I know your
or you go and
complaint. I'm
vote.
asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go
have
and
rece-
vote. You go and
No,
vote.
but what I'm saying is, what are
like
you
they
gonna do
used
about
to.
Blood
the
for the
millions of
blood
people-
god.
You need to do, Chris,
If
a
you wish to
solicited
vote
ballot
for
where you're
Biden, you
sending
must
it in, they're sending
sacrifice
it
your
back, and you're
life,
sending-
mortal.
They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you
go
see what's
vote
going
for
on?
it.
Take a look
Doesn't
at
matter
West
if you have to
Virginia,
go
mailmen
work.
selling the
Yeah.
ballots. They're being
vote.
sold. They're being dumped
Suck
in
the
rivers.
corona off
this
my
is
cock.
a horrible thing for our country.
There is
This
no-
is not.
there is no
This is
evidence
not
of
going to
that.
end well.
There is
Okay.
no
This
evidence
is
of that.
not going
Vice
to
President
end well.
Biden-
5 states
fact.
have had
Go ahead,
mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last
They won. Well,
decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What we're
Shut up,
saying
Clone.
is,
Fucking
they're saying
disappear,
is
bro.
that it has
Saw
to be a
that.
postmark by the time, by Election Day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be
You're
counted.
wrong.
He's just afraid
You're
of counting the
wrong.
votes because he
You're
knows what the
wrong.
outcome
You're
will be.
wrong.
No,
I
I want to
feel
continue with
so
you on this,
upset.
Vice President Biden.
Chris,
because
he's so wrong when he
This
makes
is so much
fact,
better than I
excuse
hoped
me.
it would be.
Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting
be such a shit
has
show.
not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they
can
missed
be fraud.
the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you, that is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me,
No,
Chris,
no, no.
when you
I
have
a final-
80 million ballots
Gentlemen, I have a final
sent in
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be
you got
done.
the
You know
snacky
it can't.
incoming.
And already
All
there's
right,
been
so now-
fraud.
Mail
deception.
service delivers
Wait a minute, gentlemen. In the
185
final
million
question
pieces of
is,
mail a day.
in
million
8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking.
It's
in
a-
8
it's a
states,
disgrace.
election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and
Yes.
flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase
what she said,
in
that's what he
mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on Election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other.
That doesn't look like
Will
Travis
you
Scott, man.
urge your supporters
Yeah.
to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you
I'm
go first.
urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they
fucking
went in to
starving,
watch.
man.
They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell
what,
you
what
what,
does that mean?
from a
Yeah, what
common
would you
law,
do
Does
about
that
it,
mean you're
Donald?
gonna
Tell you what
tell your
it means.
people to take
What
to
you
It
do
the
means you
about
have
it?
a fraudulent election. You're
And what are
sending
you
out
gonna do?
80
And
million
what would you
ballots.
do
They're
about
not,
that?
they're not equipped to.
And what are you gonna do?
These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two,
Okay.
they cheat.
He's about to tell us.
They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name
All right.
military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory
Yeah, we
until
have to
the
do a
election is
24-hour
independently
stream on
certified?
election night.
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established.
It's-
Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I
and
asked
then
you had an opportunity
Look
to
at
respond.
Carolyn Monroe.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will
Here's the
accept
deal.
it,
That
and he
should've
will
been a
too. You
bingo
know
thing.
why? Because once
What?
the winner
Here's
is
the
declared,
deal.
after all the ballots
Here's
are
the deal.
counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome, and I'll be.
He's
a
right
president
about
not
that.
just
He'll
for the
be a president for
Democrats. I'll be a
Republicans
president
too.
for Democrats and Republicans.
He'll do
And
nothing
this guy,
offensive.
I want to
if
see
in
an
fact,
honest
I need some
ballot
fucking fresh air.
count.
Gentlemen,
We-
you say that's the end of
Chris,
it? This is the
I
end
wanna
of this
see an
debate?
honest ballot count.
it's over.
We're
And
going
I
to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we go
To be
on.
continued.
President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case
God,
Western
hopefully the next
Reserve
one's better.
University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m.
heard
Eastern
Chris.
that night. We hope you watch.
Next
Until
week
then, thank you.
at the same
good night.
time, left in the South channel, same left in the South time. We will be here. I don't think we need to watch this post-interview shit. Damn, that was crazy.
Yeah,
Dude.
that was more of a shit show than I expected.
Right? Like it was so hard to get a word in edgewise because fucking they were just hyper going at it, man. Like what did you think overall? Like if you had to say just off the top of your head, what does your heart say? Who won the debate?
I don't know. I think Biden did really well. There was definitely times where Trump was just he was like allowing Trump to like do what the fuck he wanted. But
Yeah.
other than that, just fucking do this.
I think it was about even, to be honest. I think Biden
Yeah,
really
it's hard to tell who
came.
really won.
Yeah, like Biden came out really weak. I think Trump in the beginning of the debate especially was really shitting all over him and owning his ass. But I think Biden kind of like found his groove later on, and he was able to, figure out what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
And after that, I felt like he did a lot better, especially towards the end. So yeah, I don't think anyone really won, but I think Trump actually did a lot better than I
there's 2 more.
expected.
Yeah,
2 more
Trump
what?
was on some fucking research drugs, bro. On some fucking
Yeah, right?
chat shit, bro. That's 2 more debates, is what I was saying.
Oh right, yeah, and I think Hunter Biden, or not Hunter Biden, but fucking Kamala Harris and Mike Pence are debating next week,
That
right?
should be
So
good.
that should be better than this one. I think it'll be more boring because they'll actually respect the fucking rules, which is boring as hell. It was really fucking epic how Trump basically just didn't give a shit and just
And
talked over
bullied
everyone.
Chris Wallace.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, Chris
Unfortunately,
just got
let's show
walked all
let's show the
over.
bingo on screen. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my bingo here.
So here, you see the bingo? We didn't get any bingos. Really
Yeah.
close. We just were missing the
Unfortunately,
Obama
I was
votes.
not
We're gonna
able
get
to
it.
get a bingo. which is unfortunate. But you know, what can you do these days? Um, you know, like I say,
Hey, maybe next time.
you got to just do what you can.
Yeah, but you know,
But
it was a you know,
it was a very interesting
yeah,
debate for sure.
sure.
I think the highlights for me,
Mhm.
Biden refusing to answer about that thing in the beginning. What was it again? He refused to say like
Law and Order or something like that. No. Was it
no. There was something that Biden like refused to even answer on in the very beginning of the debate, and Trump just absolutely slam dunked him on it.
Why don't
I
you
thought that
answer?
was a highlight, and I thought he's a total coward for not answering that. Even though I can't remember exactly what it was at this moment because I'm a little bit drunk as fuck. Because you know what can you do, man? I mean, like, what do you want
How are
from
you
me,
supposed to
guys?
watch it?
Left in the South, people listen. I just sat through 2 hours of
Almost
2
2
old
hours,
men with dementia talking to each other about things that they don't know about, talking points that young ghouls have given to them to say that they barely remember. Just talking points, bro. And I do this shit for you, dude.
Only for
So
you.
listen, if you're listening to this right now, go ahead and hit us up on Patreon. Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yes.
$2 a month, you know? That's one less McDouble per month, which, you know, I love McDoubles. I know that's a sacrifice, but I really think that you can do it. And I
And we
think that your
post
health will
exclusive
improve.
content to Patreon, exclusive
Yes,
clips,
we do.
early
Yes, sir.
access, and we did an ARG for the podcast. I don't know if anyone's seen it or looked into it, but we did have an ARG in the podcast. If you even look back at our old episodes, it's still there. But of course, we talked about that, posted exclusive videos on our Patreon, so go check that out.
For sure. Yeah, and yeah. Anyway, so we can stop with our plug, but I wrote down some of my favorite parts, especially. I loved how Trump claimed that the bleach thing was just sarcasm. It was not sarcasm, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to do the fucking Google foo right now because I'm drunk and I don't care. But like, if you guys remember when he said that he was not kidding. That was not a joke. So yeah, that was great. Also he says that he paid millions of dollars in taxes. And he's saying like release your tax returns. I'm interested to see that. We'll see.
Release your tax returns.
Yeah. Also, we might not. He says about the election. This was towards the end. We might not know for months. That is a very.
That was worrying.
Yeah, that's a worrying
implication.
When he says,
like, months.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Like Joe was saying, he made a good point, but there's really no way for Trump to stay in power. Like the Constitution doesn't allow for it. But here's the thing is like the Constitution is just a piece of paper. So like at the end of the day, if Trump has enough influence, he could stay in power. But the question is, does he have that level of influence? And I think the answer to that is probably no, to be honest. I don't think that even Republicans are like willing to do a coup right now. I don't think that they feel like they can succeed. And I think they're right
Maybe
about
next
that.
election, though.
Right, exactly. Like it's not the time. Like if they had far more influence,
Donald
I would
Trump
say,
is the precursor.
oh my God, wow,
I feel like
yeah.
he's like setting up the stage for someone is gonna be way more dangerous.
Right. Like they know they're not stupid. Like they're calculated beings just like you and I. They know that they don't have the power to win outright right now. Like Trump is a stepping stone of what's to come. So like it would be dumb of them to play their hand right now. But who knows? I mean, they're stupid as fuck. Like they're dumb, just like the Democrats. So I mean, who knows? But you know, I don't think personally that they're that stupid. So I think that Trump probably it was important for Trump to do well in this debate. And I think I can confidently say that he did do well. I'm not going to say that Biden like folded, but he definitely didn't do as well as I thought he would, considering how bad of a president Trump has been. Like Biden had a great opportunity to do well, but just his old man brain,
it
was just not really
not there.
Exactly. Like he wasn't able to follow through on the things that he was saying. Like he was making good points.
Trump a racist on stream. So I mean that's a pretty good. You know, I feel like that's something that hasn't happened yet.
That's true, and I think like you're saying, like Bernie would have never said that. Like I think that it's really goes to show how much the discourse have changed. Discourse has changed. People are more willing to openly say what's going on, and but other than that, yeah, like I think I don't know. I think probably like nowadays, like what's his name? Bernie Sanders would say that. Tom Cotton is a good example of who will be worse. That is a great point. And if you were here for the Epoch Philosophy episode, we specifically mentioned Tom Cotton when we were talking about this subject as well. And it's really true. Like a young fascist, basically, who is mentally able to actually do something with the office, could come in and really use what Trump did to gain a ton of power. Biden needs some coke, dude. I mean, maybe not Biden, but dude, Trump, I swear Trump was on something. Do you think that like all those tweets that Trump was making about Biden doing drugs was like projecting because he was doing it?
He's like, damn, I've never taken this. It's like a research drug, fucking
Right,
brain
yeah,
enhancer.
Dude, I mean, just the way he was acting, like he was so lively compared to his normal self, and like he was actually stringing sentences together coherently. I felt like he was so spry and like
They must
I
have
don't
did
know,
like hours of fucking like hyperbolic chamber training for this fucking debate.
yeah, right, yeah, dude, exactly. Like what the fuck? I don't understand. I think that we might be onto something. I think that he might have done some fucking drugs before this debate. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything for sure. Trump is probably on coke, says the devil. Either coke or some kind of fucking upper like that. I don't know, coke or some research chemical that his fucking campaign has invested in. You know. Did you have any moments that really stood out to you from the debate, David?
Not really, bro. Like honestly, I guess I'll just say it. Honestly, not really. Like there's no like key moments where I'm like, wow, like that was like an impactful statement. Like that's why I'm hoping this next presidential debate is better. It's just like them being dumb. Like these are the worst candidates I've ever seen, fucking ever. Like
exactly, it's basically them just like making good points back and forth from each other because they're such shitty people. It's like it's hard to disagree with any of the things that they're saying about each other. Like Trump, like Biden bringing up Trump being a racist. It's like, yeah, you're right. But then Trump bringing up Biden's 94 crime bill. It's like, yeah, you're right. Like they're both racist, fucking weird, xenophobic pieces of shit, like segregationists. Like what? There's not much to like about either of them, so it's hard to like. It's really hard to judge a debate where you don't like either person. Like I saw one of my mutuals on Twitter tweet that was like, "Fuck, it's hard to watch this when I don't like either person."
Yeah,
like
that's for Bernie, like you were cheering for someone,
Right, yeah, like with Bernie, it was like it almost was like more emotionally invested for me because I was like every time he like fucked up, I was like, oh, that sucked, or like he didn't do so well that debate. But this time, I'm just like, it's almost surreal. I'm just like watching in third person from like watching the empire crumble, It's weird.
Yeah, like if you go back to our old podcast when we were covering like when Bernie was like going against Biden, like, and we would watch it. We wouldn't watch it live, but we'd talk about the next podcast. Like we'd be hyped, like, hell yeah, Bernie really fucking got Biden on this, or Bernie was fucking really strong in this debate. But now the hype just isn't there anymore.
Back when we had hope, we were young men, and we actually like felt like we were gonna do something in the world. And I still feel that way, but now I just cry a lot more.
A little less. I cry a little more at night now. But yeah, I mean, it was a good show. Do you have any more final statements?
No, I don't think so.
I
think I'm good to go. It was a good show. I really appreciate everyone who showed up. The Devil, you're a long-time listener, man. I really appreciate you showing up every time.
Always coming.
Hopefully soon we can get you some friends to talk to and chat.
Yeah, bro. Maybe one day.
For sure, man. I appreciate you showing up.
Thank you for everyone who's been listening. If you're watching this VOD from like the future, of course, like the video, subscribe, Patreon, as always. Left in the South. Goodbye.